I should probably think of an intro like a day before, because once again, I totally forgot. This isn't me trying to do a running bit, by the way. This is just me literally being forgetful and not clearly professional as Jason, who is to my this is Quarantine Chronicles episode.
Wow,
episode
Whoa.
6.
What just happened?
Episode 6, episode 5.
Episode 5.
That's why I keep Jason around on my virtual left.
Yeah, I'm literally just the bookkeeper.
Yeah, and like I said, liaison to RNHQ. Then we have Angel to my virtual right. Sup. We've been having a lot of technical issues on the back end. I'm constantly with my audio issues, and then Jason has a bunch of audio. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, it sounds like we all had a pretty terrible night yesterday.
I do.
Like, you with your technical issues, Jason with his, me with... I'm just kidding. I was going to say Hamilton, but...
Wow, shots fired. Yeah. And, I mean, that fits the theme of this show, but shots fired. I don't know why we've started to turn the Quarantine Chronicles into a...
I'm not going to lose my shot.
It's fired. But yeah, I don't know why we are turning...
the Hamilton song.
I know. I was piggybacking off it. I'm not going to lose my shot. I don't really know why we have turned this into the let's complain about the behind the curtain, but it's kind of fun. So did you know that computers can actually say system overload as if they are in a sci-fi movie from 20 years ago? Because they can. Because half the time we record this, my Mac... with no programs running and 16 gigs of RAM, likes to tell me, yes, likes to tell me that there's a system overload. So I've been dealing with that. So apparently, the best you can do is just like hope nothing else is running and just sort of run with it. But
just showing our side, just
the Windows
grab
side?
yourself a nice little Windows. Yeah,
because it's only GarageBand. Everything else, I mean, I'm too
Angels in the middle.
Man. I have
Angels in the middle of building his first PC, which I'm super excited about.
Yep, super excited. I'm really excited about that and all the potential I'm gonna get. Just the fact that it opens up a whole other ecosystem that this is starting to sound like the beginning of the conversation we had a few weeks ago about getting a different console. Where it's like I'm always like looking over there like, oh, I feel like I'm missing out. I want to try like all these games that my friends are playing, but it's not Mac compatible. And now I'm jumping onto the other side. Like I'm gonna get. Looking forward to messing with VR and all these other animation toys and, of course, a bunch of games. But
I use Windows at work. I'm literally seeing, like, I have my work from home setup at this desk where my laptop is, and I have a Dell sitting in front of me with Windows 10, and I have my Mac sitting next to it, and I definitely still gravitate towards the Mac.
So what is it that's keeping you on the Mac side? I mean, so you said the ecosystem.
Ecosystem is great on OS. I definitely still love it more than a PC because I do use a PC every day also. But it's just it's a software. It comes down to the software. But yeah, I would definitely wish it was as easy to use as a Mac, just because there's less stuff for me to mess up. Because I'm not one to customize my stuff.
What part of
the ecosystem
Mac OS is keeping you there?
Me?
Because I can literally only think of one thing that it has.
Well, what's the thing
Windows.
that you like? What's the one thing?
Well, no. Hold on. I'm asking you what is.
I know. I was trying to
deflect. you can have iCloud. You can just have iCloud on your PC.
So I'm sitting here right now talking to you guys with my MacBook Pro open. We're using my iPhone. Again, to keep the Mac from system overloading, my iPhone to do the voice chat with you guys so we actually know what we're saying. I'm wearing my Apple Watch. I have everything backed up. My photos all synced to iCloud. My music is Apple Music. Everything, I'm full
Yeah,
Apple.
but you could
I have an Apple
do
TV
that
at
on
home.
Windows
I have an Apple
as well,
TV
though.
at home, which I use AirPlay
Nothing
for.
that you mentioned is stuff that you need everything to be a MacBook for. Like something that I really like Mac for that you could only really do with Apple is I airdrop a ton of stuff to all my devices, and I love that. Sometimes I'm on my iPad, I'll copy something, and then I could just press paste on my
that's what I'm
computer.
That's what I'm building towards. Yeah, exactly.
Those little things.
That's what I'm building towards.
But do you do that?
Yes, I use the Notes app. Actually, another little inside story about the podcast. The way I collect the stories when we do the normal Roundtail podcast, and the way that I do it is I'm on my phone, I'm on my computer, and as I see stories, I bookmark them. And I use Safari, which I guess I could use Chrome. But having the unified bookmarks is really nice. Having notes on both, where if I see a story and want to jot down something I'm going to bring up in a week, like I was actually just doing after I watched the movies we're talking about, having it on the phone and being able to jot it down, and then going to the computer, be able to expand on it with the unified thing is really nice. And I know a way,
but is that exclusive to Mac OS?
Well, that's what I was about to say. Hold on.
Surface could say?
Every
no idea.
every ecosystem on some level has some sort of syncing, and if you don't want to use the baked-in OS level one, there's Google, which does their thing. But I do appreciate the privacy stuff Apple does. I did come from PC. I didn't have a Mac until the final quarter of senior year of college.
That's right. I think
I was
got
on
my first MacBook right before you.
Yeah, and I got in March 2011 was my first MacBook, and I came from Windows. I'm not like anti-Windows. I like the Mac world. I like dumb little things like my HomeKit. All my house lights are like I can access from the computer and from the phone. Like I don't know, it's definitely like a creature of comfort, sort of creature of habit thing. But I do really like Apple, like what they do for the most part, and how everything's so plays so nicely.
I totally get it. Like having everything synced in. But me personally, I'm an iPhone guy. I'm definitely not an Android guy. But I don't see there being a lot of differences between what you're doing on your Mac.
Well, that's the thing. I don't need
your iPhone and your Mac versus my iPhone and my Windows. You know?
So I don't need anything on Windows except maybe to fix the system overload. But no, in generally speaking, there's nothing on. No, but there's nothing on Windows that I actually like.
and for much less cheaper.
I would rather use GarageBand to record, which I'm using than Audacity. Audacity feels not as it's just not as easy to edit. It's like super easy to cut stuff up and drop in here. But then again, I mean, Audacity is free. I mean, yeah, technically GarageBand is free, but you know that's like Audacity is freeware. It's like someone just made it and put it out there, and GarageBand has the backing of Apple and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So just the fact that PCs have access to a ton of that kind of stuff is also really cool because there is a lot of other things that we want to use.
Yeah, and kind of to the point I was getting to before is like I don't do a ton on my computer. Like I go on the internet, I read Twitter. I listen to music, I do the podcast, I write the script, I use Photoshop. Those are the extent of it, really. And Photoshop, I don't know if it's still true, but has the history of always running better on Mac. Just built Mac first, I believe. Apple Music, like iTunes on Windows sucks. Just matter of fact,
iTunes has sucked regardless of the platform.
No, but on Mac now it's not bad because they finally lightened it up with Catalina here, the latest version, where it's just Apple Music now and it's very clean and it's fine. But like on Windows, it's a total resource hog. Like it's not great. Apple doesn't obviously, they're putting it there because there's an audience for it, but they don't really care about it there. It's just a means to an end, opposed to here where it's like part of their platform, so they want it to be the best it can be, yada yada. But yeah, so like for the stuff I do, like the apps I have are fine. It seems, minus the system overload issue, which I'll figure out eventually, hopefully. It seems it would be really ironic if it just flashed right now. But minus that, it seems like for the most part, like I'd just be reinventing everything I do just because it's on a different platform. Like I'd just be like, oh, I'm going to Windows now, and now I'm doing everything I did over there, but I have to like find all the equivalent programs or relearn everything or whatever.
Well, I mean, I feel like all the equivalent programs are there.
Like, yeah, but I have to like go through the process of like I have a perfectly good setup, and I'd have to like go through the process of okay, well I'm gonna use instead of Notes. Well, I guess I can use like Notepad
good setup up until we start recording podcasts.
Well, everything except this recent system overload bug, which is only the last 3 or so episodes.
It is weird that just kind of came out of
nowhere. So my theory is has to do with the automatic level control being on, and that might use more RAM because that helps keep my volume stable. Ironically, another weird thing about GarageBand is when you turn off automatic level control, at least on my Mac, it actually starts automatically level controlling. So you turn it off and then it starts just like lowering you over time. Well, if you leave it on, it keeps it where it is. So I don't get it. But yeah, I it's very, Angel, you made the point that it's kind of like analogous to our conversation last quarantine Chronicles about like me being stuck in my Nintendo ways.
I mean, in a way, but less so.
I'm a creature of comfort. I'm not big on change much.
I mean,
change is good when it
I don't-
happens, but I don't seek it out necessarily. Sometimes
mean-
to my own detriment. But yeah, so that's why.
I feel less inclined to like push you to a different, like, computer ecosystem than I would to a different console. Just because, like you said, like, I mean, you know what you use it for. It would kind of like to have to relearn everything. There's a higher learning curve to switch over to.
And I do know how to use Windows.
Even if you use it all the time, but I mean, just to use it habitually is a different. Like,
and also
it's a different thing. I mean, you're fighting against muscle memory at that point.
Small little side note, like I'd have to pay like $600 for Photoshop if I switched. So like right now I'm mooching off. My family has an Adobe like subscription, so we get one copy on Windows and one copy on Mac, and it's like the equivalent of $10 each, I guess. But if I were to go to Windows, I would need to pay my own Adobe subscription. And why would I do a silly thing like support a developer myself when I can just do it through someone else and not pay?
Just to be clear, I'm
You're
just like
asking, I know. Yeah.
I'm just like ribbing you. I'm not like,
I know,
you should switch over to Windows. It's so much better.
Oh no, I know. Yeah.
I was just curious as to like, because I feel like with the exception of iMessage, I'm pretty sure like everything
I forgot
they can
iMessage. Thank you.
Yeah, like iMessage,
yes.
and we've gone over this. I think outside of the podcast of like how stupid Apple is for not having iMessage on Windows or like other platforms.
Well, it depends on our definition of stupid.
Well,
on a business side, it's very smart.
Well, yeah, on the business side, it's very smart, but like, Google doesn't have end-to-end encryption solution. Like they say that they're always going to get to it, but then they decided, we'll just do RCS instead. Which, all right, that's fine. But then it's like, we're going to have, let's just all get Signal. No one's going to get Signal or Telegram or any of that stuff. Well, I feel like it'd be safer for everybody if they just had iMessage on like Android phones or on Windows. You get me?
Yeah, so what Apple does particularly well, I think, is they know, to your point about like, Google tried RCS and like, no one's going to download Signal, is Apple knows ultimately, and this is why I think up until Big Sur, which comes out in September, they have always defaulted to their own apps, is they know a lot of people will just use what's there. Like if you look at someone like my mom or whatever, she'll get like, I want this like news app or I want this thing, but she also is using Apple News. She's using Safari. She's using the default mail app. She never is considering the Gmail app or like, downloading Chrome or like Dolphin browser or any of those things or the Firefox app. Like Apple knows that people will fall back on the default. So then if they make iMessage in particular such a selling point, like it has, an emoji, it has security, it has those little blue bubbles versus the green bubbles, which is like a status symbol for some people, which is kind of bizarre. Like people are like, I'm never going to date like a green bubble and like weird things like that. Like they obviously that's tongue in cheek, but also kind of not. But like they know they can sort of sell the phone off that alone. If they make iMessage one of the baked in things, so they know everyone uses it, and then they make it so good and so like well thought out and fully featured that it just becomes the selling point of iPhone. Because like the other stuff they've started pouring to other devices, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, all that, those are all subscription services. So they're making money off that anyway. But iMessage would be free, presumably, and that's where they
what if they just charged $1?
I feel like for them,
WhatsApp does that, right? Like they charge you $1
I think
a
they
year.
Stopped, actually. Maybe they still do. I don't know. Maybe they still do.
I don't know. I mean,
they used to before Facebook
with my family, but it's free.
They used to do it before Facebook bomb. I don't know if they still do
that
it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think
I've
they
never been
literally
charged
just I think they charge you $1 for the entire year because they know so many people use it.
Yeah, and it's possible Apple could conceivably do something like that, but then they already have given up, and this is a good thing, it was a horrible decision, but when they did the whole, we're going to slowly degrade your battery thing, but we're not actually degrading your battery, we're just slowing down your phone so it matches the natural degradation of your battery. Or
degradation of the battery.
Degradation, yeah. Thank you. Like, when they did that, like, when they finally said, we're doing that, we're going to stop now, they basically cut off a whole source of new phone purchases, a whole source of revenue. Because now you can go buy an $80 battery from the Apple Store or whatever, and just that's it. You don't need to buy a $1,000 phone. So I can't see them being like, well, let's take the gamble of making iMessage $1 and see if people will now go to Pixels and Galaxy Notes and whatever, but pay us $1 because they already have lost one guaranteed stream. Are they willing to do that again? And that's what I'm not sure about. Like I was saying, the other stuff, the subscription stuff, I get because they're like, oh, we're charging you the same as if you're on the iPhone. Like Apple Music's not free to iPhone users. Unless you're on Verizon with the right plan, in which case it is like me. But yeah, it's not really free to to Apple users, and I can't see them just going like, yeah, let's just give up the. It'd be like Nintendo being like, yeah, we're gonna make the Wii remote compatible with a PlayStation at the peak of. I
feel like it still would be kind of like a win-win for Apple. Like if they let's say they port it over to, let's say they allow Android to have iMessage, right?
Yeah.
Let's say $1. How many people have Android phones across the world?
More than iPhones, yeah.
Exactly. Like that's a huge revenue stream. And not only that, but you're making private communication safer with their end-to-end encryption stuff. Like Dieter from The Verge had like a great article on this, on why, not why they should, but why it would like benefit them.
Oh, and like as a customer, it'd be amazing. Yeah, as a customer, I'd want them to do it. I'm just thinking from like Tim Cook's point of view.
Our buddy, our mutual friend, who's a huge Google guy. Mm-hmm. Well, we asked him like if iMessage were to come out on the on Android, would you use it? And he was like, unfortunately, yes. It was like,
oh yeah,
because that's just how good iMessage is, you know.
Yeah, it is really good. But yeah, I'm just picturing like Tim Cook in his giant ring of an Apple campus at Apple Park, you know, just sitting on his throne in his glass palace there. I can't see him like, I don't know, I just can't see him doing it. But then again, a year ago, it didn't even seem like Apple Music or Apple TV Plus or anything would go to other platforms.
Right.
But at that point, it almost felt like they had to do that because they weren't in a dominant position. They weren't in the number one spot. They're competing against Spotify, they're competing against Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they are playing catch up by going, okay, yeah, we need to be on as many platforms as possible. I don't know. I
can't believe they tried Apple TV.
It's still around, by the way. It's still around. It doesn't have any must watches. That's the weird thing. It has some interesting stuff, like
it's just stuff that makes me go, huh, I guess this is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and
like
I think
Elmo
and they put
late
all
night thing, the Bob's Burgers looking.
Well,
show.
no. The Elmo thing is on HBO.
You're right.
You're thinking of the Sesame. Yeah, they're bringing back Fraggle Rock.
Pepper Jack love Fraggle Rock.
But yeah, they're doing something kind of interesting because Apple, I think, knows like they don't have enough for that. Like Morning Show is supposed to be their big thing for Apple TV Plus, and like it got nominated for Emmys, and it just like never took off. And that was like they put a ton of money into that. Did you know a cast of like Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston, and Steve Carell? Like it was a big thing. And they keep trying to like figure out what the next big thing is. Like they just bought the rights to, like Tom Hanks' World War II movie called Greyhound or something like that, which yes, to his life now, which I think is the first movie that Tom Hanks has written as well. But either way, like they're trying all these different things.
Tom Hanks is very bummed out about that.
That they bought it?
That it wouldn't get a theatrical release.
Oh yeah, because of COVID. Yeah, but at the same time, he also says if you don't wear a mask, you're an idiot. So wear your mask, people. But he said that I think like 2 days ago. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, like they keep trying different angles, but it seems like they just can't. They don't have anything like sticky. They don't have any like watershed thing. It's what I was saying about HBO Max, like back in like the second or third Quarantine Chronicles. Like Apple TV Plus, much like HBO, doesn't have like the must-watch thing ready to go. Like they don't have a Mandalorian. They don't have what was a House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. They don't have a like Handmaid's Tale. Like there's not a prestige. You gotta. They tried with Morning Show, but there's not like you have to watch this either as a like zeitgeisty super pop culture moment with the Mandalorian or some sort of super prestige thing like Netflix and Hulu started with. So they're kind of stuck, which makes it interesting that they're doing the Fraggle Rock thing because they bought the rights to Fraggle Rock and they're making new ones. I think they're already up there, but they also bought the back catalog and are adding it to Apple TV. So the service that originally was only going to be brand new original content is now starting to like revive IPs and then take the old content of the IP and integrate it in. So it's still like original.
Yeah, because they're also doing Amazing Stories, right?
Yes, they are. I would not be surprised if they bring that. Not yet, no. But I would not be surprised if they bring back the old Amazing Stories from, I guess it was Netflix, Angel, that we watched it on?
Yeah, Netflix.
It's
Spielberg thing.
Yeah, it's so funny they brought that back because we like...
They're just like kid-friendly Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah, but
basically.
We had a weird kick where we went through them, like you mean and Elvis, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe 6 at this point. And they're just so like bizarre and absurd and kind of dumb that you know we'd watch them kind of tongue in cheek. And then Apple, when they announced Apple TV Plus, is like, we're bringing back Amazing Stories. And I remember you and me being like, "You're what now? Why? Why would you do that? So, yeah. But anyway, that was a long tangent. Sorry. Once you get to talk about Apple, I just love nerding out about Apple. That's another thing. If I go to PC, how do I nerd out about Apple in the same way?
You're still able to. I feel like I consume a lot of Apple news for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you're on iOS 14,
Jason with 2 words.
Nintendo and Apple.
Yep. That's literally his character.
And if we had a third word, it'd probably be Foursquare. Fourth and fifth would be like Twitter and...
No, I would say Twitter before Foursquare, honestly.
Oh, no. Yeah. Every single time that we go out anywhere. Hold on, I gotta check in.
Every single breathing moment I'm on Twitter.
Before we even walk into wherever we're going, he stops us. Hold on, guys.
Oh no, I'm better about that now. I'm much better about that. I used to do that, but now I do it so subtly that people don't even notice.
Now when we're in event situations like Comic-Con and stuff.
Oh, that's different. Yeah, no. When we're at Comic-Con, I become like a super vocal, I need to be on social media, and I'm like, what should I tweet? And what's this Instagram? And like,
can you guys come with me to this restaurant so I could get the Wi-Fi so that I could upload this picture?
That has happened at least 3 times. Not gonna lie. But to your point, I am in 2 words, Nintendo and Apple. I'm literally wearing a Nintendo t-shirt and my Apple Watch right now. So I am
You are the fan.
Subtle. Yeah.
That was a good chunk of time right there.
That was.
Already
it
killed,
wasn't even on our
already
agenda.
killed like a sixth of the
Killed. You mean spent in an enjoyable manner that listeners
killed,
will...
destroyed, obliterated, decimated. Do you know the actual definition of decimate?
No, what is it?
So I think it's to get rid of 1/10 of.
Well,
I always thought it meant like obliterate,
completely
like
destroy.
just completely destroy. But it's like nope, you're just getting rid of 1/10.
So we did not decimate.
Yeah, so we didn't decimate that yet.
There's a little more.
So I used it wrong, just like everybody
strong
else.
Word though.
It does sound
Right?
like
It's got like a nice crunch to it, right?
Yeah, like he was decimated. It's like obliterated, but
I feel like obliterated sounds like the better word, but decimated still sounds cool.
Yeah.
This is kind of disappointing. Wow.
Is your whole world upended?
Kind of, yeah. It just kind of sucks.
I'm sorry.
I always thought that was a more powerful word. Now it's like you got, yeah. It'd be like the equivalent, like if I I don't know. It's like I guess Jason would say. I guess that means Jason could say like, "Oh, I decimated.
I decimate all my games."
Yeah, like Jason decimated like Super Mario Odyssey. Like it sounds like he did something good, but he probably did only decimate
I like
it.
triple.
He just got like 1/10 of.
Triple decimated Odyssey. I think I got more. I got through like half. I decimate
How far
times
did you
5.
get?
Did you not finish Odyssey?
No, I don't.
If you only got,
I got more than half. I'm well past. I don't remember where
you got past New Donk City.
Yeah, I'm like 2 worlds beyond it. I think I'm at like the soda world. No, is that a thing?
I've got to replay Odyssey.
If you're talking about the Luncheon Kingdom, I think that's before New Donk City.
Well, I beat New Donk City,
yeah,
so I must not be thinking of Luncheon. Maybe I think you have the polygonal one. I don't know. I got pretty...
Which is also a Luncheon Kingdom.
Oh, well, no. I definitely beat New Donk fully. And then some. I did the Big Forest. I did like all the others. A lot of others.
Interesting.
I'll look sometime.
Yeah, please do.
But I could tell you I definitely did more than decimate Mario Odyssey.
All right.
Did you decimate? Oh, wait. Why are we talking about Nintendo? Who cares about that?
Yeah, wrong show,
dude. This is the wrong show. Although,
show.
That being said, I do want to get back to Odyssey. What a stunning game. Anyways, let's get to the meat and potatoes of Quarantine Chronicles here. Oh, I am officially on quarantine leave. So
Oh, yeah.
that makes this
safe,
podcast
even more relevant.
Stay safe, is what I said. Or be healthy,
thanks.
or...
But I think I'm gonna be just fine. Like the guy at work who set off this chain of events. Like for all we know, he doesn't even have corona. So I don't know. We'll see. But like I
Your
said,
survival will be long.
and your death be swift. Hey, we're gonna be talking about Last of Us at the end of today's podcast. But for right now, I want to bring up what we've been watching. We've been watching a lot of stuff, not together, but there are some mutual interests there. So I've been watching What We Do in the Shadows. Do either of you know what We Do in the Shadows originally was?
Every time I hear the title, I keep thinking it's something Tim Burton related.
For some reason, I think it comes from like New Zealand. I don't know why. Am I right?
Is that the one with
you know why?
No, I don't actually. Wait, is it a Taika project?
Yeah, it's a Taika project. So for those,
okay.
Is that the one with Will Ferrell singing? And like
Nope, that is Eurovision, which I have seen. It exists.
Ew.
It's actually not bad.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, What We Do in the Shadows is I guess you would consider it a spin-off of the movie of the same name, which, like the show, is a mockumentary that's directed and starred Taika Waititi, who directed what I think is the best MCU movie, Thor Ragnarok. Just like Ragnarok, What We Do in the Shadows is hilarious, and that movie specifically follows the lives of vampires in the UK. So it's a mockumentary about vampires. And like you think that it'd be so the okay, these vampires, man. Unlike the movie which takes place, wait, does it take place in the UK? No, I think it does take place in New Zealand.
Okay, so
but
not
this
totally
one
crazy.
yeah. So, well, yeah, it's a Taika project. But this show specifically follows a cast of vampires in Staten Island, which
What?
is all right. So basically, the show follows 4 vampires and 1 human characters. The vampires range from classic style vampires, with like fangs, like accents, or like what would you think is the normal like vampire accent, like
Dracula.
Yeah, like
Transylvania, like I want to suck your blood sort of thing. Yeah.
They have those kinds of accents. They suck the blood from people, and they need to be invited into an area before they can walk in, or else they like burst into flames. Which so these aren't your like, what was that franchise?
Twilight.
Yeah, these aren't your Twilight vampires.
I feel like I'm playing a Mad Lib with you right now. Like you're just giving me all these blanks I'm filling in.
They still abide by like classic vampire rules, or the generic vampire rules, but where like the first spin on vampires comes from is that there's one vampire who's an energy vampire who he looks like a regular human, or like he just looks like an average Joe and has no accent, just like a regular American, but he feeds off the negative energy of people. So his whole thing is like he will try to make you sad or depressed and then just feed off that instead of having to feed off blood. And then go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like a perpetual sad boy type of thing.
Yeah. It's like when you talk to me, an angel, and we start, and then that's how you get your energy, which is pretty much, for all we know, you're an energy vampire as well.
I guess I need to come clean. Yeah. I am.
So rounding off the cast is the human character Guillermo, who is a quote unquote familiar, who is a person who's almost like a tour guide for these vampires, but he's also like their slave, and he's specifically a slave to one of the vampires, Nandor, who he's been helping him out for like 10 years in hopes of becoming a vampire. But man, these vampires, they're not menacing or anything. They're complete idiots. And that's where a whole bunch of the humor from the show comes from. Exactly like if you saw What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, you'd see that those vampires were also idiots. It's almost like it's the cast of It's Always Sunny, but just not as cruel.
It's on FX as well, isn't it?
It's also on FX.
That is what I like about Sunny, though.
What?
I guess how cruel it is, or just how unapologetically bad the people are, but.
Yeah. Like tonally wise, it never feels mean-spirited like It's Always Sunny or like The Office, because The Office can get pretty mean-spirited. It's much closer in tone to like Parks and Recreation.
Oh, okay. You got my attention.
Yeah. And it has that mockumentary style as well.
Right.
But just like the cast of Parks, these guys are always getting in ridiculous situations. Like they're trying to convince the mayor of Staten Island to let them take over Staten Island because they have like a boss that demanded the group to start taking over Staten Island. Well, like aside from that, also just like Parks, they start beefing with like another faction. You know how they're always beefing with what's Pawnee's
Eagleton.
Yeah, Eagleton. These guys start beefing with werewolves, which leads to like one of the funniest scenes that I've seen from the first season. One of the vampires gets captured by animal shelter while they're in their bat form, and so the other guys have to break them out of an animal shelter. It's such a ridiculously funny show. There are some jokes at the expense of the human character Guillermo, but like I said, it never gets mean-spirited.
So it's like Jerry on Parks. Although those get mean-spirited, actually.
Yeah,
those get pretty mean.
Yeah.
I take that back. That's the only mean streak in Parks.
Like who else gets poo-pooed on in that show aside from Jerry?
On Parks?
Yeah.
Kind of
usually
Tom
just him.
from time to time. Like, they kind of rolled their eyes at Tom and his shenanigans.
Yeah, so I guess more... He's not like...
I mean, he did
eccentric
replace
as
Jerry
Tom.
when Jerry left.
Exactly, in that one episode.
Yeah, so I guess... Yeah, Guillermo isn't as eccentric as Tom is, but whatever like put downs that they would do for Tom, they do for Guillermo. Like I said, it's never mean spirited, but oh man, the show is so funny. There is like an underlying arc across the first season, and that leads to a great episode later on in the first season that just has a bunch of cameos that range from. The episode has like 10, at least 10 incredibly famous people, but the cameos range from someone as small. I guess small is kind of a mean word. But like Kristen Shaw, would you consider her an A-lister?
No, I don't think I would.
Okay, so see, that's why it's hard. But like Kristen Shaw is a recognizable like actress, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So
her
like
voice
that
is
episode,
more recognizable than her.
Oh yeah, true. But yeah, so like that episode has Kristen Shaw, but it also has Tilda Swinton.
What?
Yeah,
random.
That name sounds familiar.
The woman that Conan looks like, or vice versa. The Conan looks like the male version of.
That doesn't help, but I recognize the name.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay,
she was
did
in.
you see Doctor Strange?
Yes.
So
Mystic
Doctor
lady.
Strange's like
Love interest?
no,
the Mystic
his
lady,
teacher,
like,
the bald lady.
Oh, her?
Yeah,
She looks like Conan?
When she has hair, she has very similar orange hair. And when Conan was younger, they used to look pretty similar, and he would constantly comment on it in his typical fashion.
And he wants her to play him in The Late Shift if
Yes.
The Late Shift 2 if that ever happens. Did you ever see The Late Shift? The original?
I did not, weirdly, considering how big of a fan I am of like the late night scene.
That was what? That was Jay Leno
It was
and
Leno and Letterman.
David Letterman?
Yeah, in like 1992 or so. Yeah.
Oh man, I wasn't even born. You guys were though.
Yeah, I was only a couple years old. I was 3.
Oh man, you guys are old.
Yeah, it's true.
Just Jason.
Oh, one of my favorite just Jason. One of my favorite little things about this show is that it is a mockumentary, but one of the vampires accidentally kills one of the audio engineers during an episode. So like the sound is off and the vampires are very apologetic to like the crew. It like these guys very much is there a fourth wall in mockumentary shows?
I mean, on some level, if you think about, in a way, they look directly at the camera.
Yeah, but that's because they are being filmed and they know it. So it's not like
That's
I
true.
feel like it takes away it takes away some of the fourth wall breaking when that is the intention that they are being filmed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's not supposed to be there and they're actually like, I don't know.
Well, no, because the fourth wall is just the audience, ultimately. So if they're playing to the audience, whether the audience is on the other side of the camera or not, they're still playing to the audience. Because the idea of the fourth wall is, you have the 3 walls of the stage, and then the fourth is the crowd. So, right? So it would still be the fourth wall.
No, they are, but usually the fourth wall implies that it's like they know their characters in the show, or they know that the story is kind of going in that direction. But it's just it's kind of weird when I feel like it's somewhere in between.
Yeah, I guess it kind of is. Because I always thought the fourth wall was just like a wink and a nod that like they're aware of the situation they're in being something that's being watched.
Being televised.
Yeah, or being, whatever.
They're in on the joke. I mean, it's not... Yeah. I mean, the easiest way to put it is like, it's not the same as Deadpool. Let's put it that way.
No, yeah, it's not the same as Deadpool. Yeah, where they're not... Yeah, but I guess it's just different degrees of fourth wall. Because like with Deadpool, it's very... It's you can be fourth wall and not be meta, I guess is what I'm saying. Deadpool's meta. Like, it's self-referencing. It's referencing its own progression and all that. While, like, fourth wall is just acknowledging there's someone there, right? At least that's how I've always viewed it. Because fourth wall and meta usually are very intertwined, but not necessarily. And I think that's where the break is, kind of.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it also depends on whether you consider a joke like... It's like, oh, man, we've been through this already a bunch of times. And they're just referring to the fact that they've done the same premise for an episode, like, almost every other season or something like that.
Right.
I mean, that is kind of breaking the fourth wall, but,
Yeah, see, to me, that's a little more on the meta side than the fourth wall side. Because we could say, we've been through this a bunch of times when we end up at the same restaurant, not remember, like, like deja vu is essentially that. So that's more self-referencing in my mind than fourth wall. But it is also a little fourth wall because they're acknowledging that, like, you've seen this before. So yeah, you're right, Angel. It's complicated.
Or like every time Jim, I guess, looks at the camera, but he's just looking at the cameraman.
But he's looking at the cameraman knowing that there's an audience watching, which is the cameraman and his camera. It's my.
I know. Yeah, it
very,
plays to both.
It's delicate. The easiest answer, Kevin, is yes and no.
Okay. So I mean, the cast in the show interact with the camera crew a lot. The camera crew doesn't necessarily ever talk back to them like that weird arc in the later seasons of The Office.
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't like that.
All that does is give the characters a reason to look at the camera without it coming off as like cheesy or being like, oh, like, that's a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
So it kind of lets them get away with breaking the fourth wall that way without it coming off as,
Yeah,
like
and that's honestly something I didn't really like about the later season of The Office was like it felt like the camera was just the conduit to us, and then suddenly it wasn't anymore, and I'm just like, wait, what? Like, why are these now characters instead of just us? Like, it was weird. You know what I mean? Like when they started interacting with the crew directly and stuff. Like it kind of worked, but kind of I don't know. Something about it just felt like it was like that felt like it was breaking like a fifth wall or something. I don't know. It just felt weird.
It was also really weird to then see that because it was the boom mic guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that one was hitting on Pam or something?
Yeah. Who I guess slowly fell in love with Pam throughout the recording of the show. But it was weird to then see that guy who seemed like a kind-natured guy on The Office to just a total douchebag in season 2 of Silicon Valley?
Oh yeah.
Yep. The 3 commas guy?
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta rewatch Silicon Valley, man.
Good show.
I never finished it.
It definitely started spinning its wheels, but it was enjoyable throughout, I'd say.
So back to what we do in the shadows. I really hope that the show doesn't crap the bed in season 2. That'd be such a heartbreak. But luckily, I've heard great things about season 2. I think it just finished maybe about a month ago, so I can't wait to like binge that. And this show is so funny. Like I was having it on my second monitor while I was like playing video games. I would have to stop, and usually that kind of stuff I'll have to like pause the show or the podcast to like focus on the game. I was way more interested in watching the show than I was in playing the game. So I'd actively pause the game, go back a couple of minutes to see the joke, and oh, it's so funny. I really think that you guys should check it out.
Yes, I check
it out.
Yeah,
I like Taika's stuff a lot. So yeah, like I
like
Jojo
Taika stuff.
I like Jojo Rabbit a lot. I like Thor Ragnarok a lot. So I felt I should.
Did we? Oh no, it wasn't with you, but yeah, I met Taika at a screening of Ragnarok at the IMAX HQ in.
Wait, what? When was this? After or before it came out?
After it came out, maybe about 3 weeks afterwards.
That's really cool, especially considering how much you love the movie.
Yeah, man, Thor Ragnarok is probably my favorite MCU movie. But yeah, and then he did Q&A after the screening. It was a thing with Collider that they were doing.
Oh, the Collider series. Yeah. They I forgot what it was, but I was gonna go to one of those, but then something came up. Like I think they overbooked it or something, and they sent out emails like, "Just kidding," but I forgot who it was. But it was like, yeah, they do some great ones. That's the beauty of living in LA when it's not coronavirus. Is like there's so many cool events with the industry to go to, and like so many opportunities to like meet people. Like Angel, you and I met Guillermo del Toro at a screening in a similar fashion. Like that was cool.
Oh, yeah, we did.
I've also met Guillermo del Toro.
I saw him
at a screening of Scott Pilgrim for the Blu-ray release.
Okay, that's the most random string of a sentence I've ever heard. What was he doing there?
It was the Blu-ray release of Scott Pilgrim. Guillermo del Toro was hosting the panel, which was Edgar Wright, Michael Cera, and someone else. I keep forgetting who it was.
I'm jealous.
Don't remember if it was Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but yeah, afterwards I got a picture with Michael Cera. I think I got a picture with Edgar Wright. And then Matthew, a friend of ours, got a picture with Guillermo.
I kind of wish Michael Cera's career didn't just fizzle. Like, I know he was typecast and that's why, but, like, he was my, like, spirit animal in a way. Like, I felt so much like him, like, especially after Superbad. Like, it was, like, 1-to-1. And that's not necessarily a good thing to be like, oh, I'm like that Michael Cera character. But, like,
especially after Superbad? What did you watch him in before? Oh, yeah, Arrested, yeah.
Yeah, Arrested. But, yeah, like, especially after Superbad, because he literally, like, the final scene of Superbad, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, they filmed it, like, right down the street from here in Culver City at this mall that I knew, like, really well. And he was wearing almost identical to what I was wearing when I went to see the movie. And I had no idea that was going to happen. And, like, I got out of the movie, I'm just like, wait a minute, I am the Michael Cera. I had some of the awkward tendency, everything. I was just like, this is... And then I kept seeing him, like, get into bigger and bigger things. Like, oh, this is kind of cool, okay. And then he just, like, disappeared. But...
he's still doing, like, smaller stuff. He was in... he was in that one Aaron Sorkin movie a couple years ago. Molly's Game?
Oh, that's right. I still need to see that. I totally forgot.
Yeah, I still need to see that too. Yeah, he was in that.
I feel bad being like, I love Sorkin stuff and then not seeing the last one, but I do really like I thought, I'm one of the few people that actually really liked Newsroom, even though it was super cheesy at times. And like, I thought his Steve Jobs movie was good, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's like a 3-act play. This is weird, but I really liked it.
Social Network.
Social Network's one of my, another one of my favorite. Yeah, another one of my favorites.
Decade or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Aaron Sorkin, What We Do in the Shadows. There's absolutely no correlation in there, but
but you brought it all back around. Good job.
Yeah, and my smoothest of transitions. Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows, great show. I can't wait to start watching season 2. Yeah, that's all I got for that. Angel, you want to talk about Close Enough?
Yeah, so Close Enough, man. This show, I have been waiting for the show since like 2017. Like, this show was announced not that long after Regular Show ended, which is a show by J.G. Quintel, which, like, me, my brother, yeah, well, grammar, whatever. I was going to say me, my brother, and my friend, but, you know, you should say my brother, my friend, and I. That we've been watching, like, pretty much religiously since it came out. Honestly, I can't even remember when Regular Show first aired. It was, like, I want to say around 2009, 2010? Because we were different in college. It was, like,
has it been that long?
I think it was after Adventure.
It's an old show.
No way.
Yeah, because that show.
I could have sworn it just ended like 3 years ago.
It did, but it was on for a long time.
The show came out,
2010 to 2017.
Holy.
There we go.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That was 10 years ago that it aired?
Yeah.
Premiered, Because the show came out at a very crucial point in Cartoon Network history. Cartoon Network was kind of struggling. Like in the early 2000s, I felt like a lot of people were loving a lot of shows that were on there. I mean, we still had Powerpuff Girls, we still had Dexter's Lab, and there were also some other hits like Billy and Mandy that were kind of carrying the show. But then at some point, the shows weren't getting as good. They were experimenting a lot, maybe a little too much. And then there was a point where they straight up had live action shows. Like it almost felt like they were focusing.
That was egregious. Yeah, how dare they?
It was during their Cartoon Network, like CN Real. Like they had shows like Destroy Build Destroy, which just had some very loud dude building stuff.
Hey man, Andrew W. You do not call Andrew WK a loud dude. Okay?
I mean, he is frankly a very loud dude.
But you do.
But he parties hard.
Sure, he can get typecast as the loud dude, but you call that man by his name. Okay, that is Andrew WK.
Hey, put yourself in my shoes.
A legend.
And like the nicest dude in the world, apparently. Too.
The nicest dude in the world. I mean, yeah, he seems like such a down-to-earth guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure he is, but as someone who would go to Cartoon Network, as someone that loves animation and cartoons, and was being forced to watch this, watch this if I wanted to.
Forced to watch the Andrew WK go to your house and say, hey man, you're watching this.
Also, like, he is a living cartoon character. He's so, like, boisterous and just and animated.
It was literally that show and Incredible Crew, which was I guess like their attempt at all that or some kind of like sketch comedy show.
And then there was that Level Up show, right?
Yeah, Level Up, and they also had like something Academy with they tried a bunch of different like live action shows, and I think someone from Incredible Crew would go on to voice Miles in Spider-Verse, and I believe it's the same person that played the main character in Dope. I could be mistaken.
It is. I'm forgetting his name, but yes, it's the guy from Dope. Dope's a good movie.
Shamik Moore. Dope has one of my favorite lines of any movies. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, but yeah, I love that movie.
Wait, what was the line? You can't leave us hanging. Or can you not say it?
It was when I think it's a voiceover that Shamik Moore does. It's like, oh yeah, he says something along the lines of like, I'm a black kid, but I love white people stuff. And then he's like, he says a couple of lines, or he says that I'm into things that white people are into, even though I'm black, like Game of Thrones, some other thing. And then he says Donald Glover at the end. Oh, like implying that Donald Glover is a thing that only white people love.
Yeah, well, there was a whole like undercurrent of that when Glover first started. I remember, and he even rapped about it back at that time because he's like rapping Smash Bros references and Pokemon references and So anyway, we're getting way off tangent. Dope is a good movie though.
Dope's a good movie.
So there are like some notable figures that had a part in this live action part of history of Cartoon Network, and obviously it didn't work out. Like, at one point, it just kind of fizzled out, and it was a failed experiment. But I mean, I will commend them for trying. You know, like putting live action shows in a network called Cartoon Network is definitely kind of ballsy. But I don't know. I guess something was failing. But point is, around 2010, Adventure Time came out, and that kind of blew up, and it kind of gave Cartoon Network the fire they needed, and they started experimenting with some other shows, and one of those was a regular show. And that one really clicked with our group just because the main characters, even though there were a blue jay and a raccoon, they were our age. They were like in their early 20s, actually. And in fact, those characters are in the show. They were 23 and I think 21 or 22 respectively. And they're pretty much people that just like got out of high school. They didn't really have a job. They kind of didn't really know what they wanted to do with their life. They were just kind of getting through, and the plots were like super ridiculous and all over the place, but they always started with a very simple premise, and it almost always revolved around something that we could easily relate to or something that we grew up with, because the main character very much puts himself and writes the stories based on his experiences, because he is literally our age. And so you have a lot of episodes based around Nintendo. They literally have like a Shigeru Miyamoto figure. I think they call him Morimoto. I mean, they have like episodes based on like the King of Kong, the documentary about the guy Steve Weeb, and I forgot the other dude's name, the villain.
Billy Mitchell. Billy Mitchell.
Billy Mitchell, yeah. The
Also
guy with
another
the American
great movie.
flag tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they have episodes based around that. Like it's very much aimed at us, and like at my age group. And the fact also is that he wasn't writing it for kids. Like he pretty much like wrote it for adults, but with all the filters that come with trying to make it safe for network for kids. So, you know, like instead of drinking beer, they would just drink a lot of soda or eat a bunch of hot wings. And they were clearly drunk from eating a lot of hot wings and soda, but they were played it off as just like, oh, like I had way too many hot wings. They pretty much had a hangover. Or they wouldn't remember what happened the night before because they partied way too hard with, you know, chili wings and whatever. And, you know, things will, to give you an idea, like a show may start with like them playing too much rock, paper, scissors, and then it kind of escalates to like they played it way too many times and they have to play with the rock, paper, scissors lord. And it's one of the shows that is really ridiculous to explain, but yeah, it escalates really quickly. And regular show, I mean, and Close Enough pretty much feels exactly like that, except without the filter. Like, now they actually can say whatever they want and do whatever they want. And in a way, I kind of really like the cleverness of them getting around just not having to say, you know, like curse words or, you know, or just like show explicit stuff and just kind of to circumvent and just imply it, which sometimes made it funnier because it's like, oh, we know what they're getting at. They just can't do it.
So they're human characters in this, right?
Yeah, they're all.
It's a family, isn't
so
it?
far.
It's like.
Yeah, the main character is literally J.G. Quintel. He even looks like him, except he's a game designer in this show. And, you know, that's also just his normal voice, which was also the voice of Mordecai, the main character of regular show. But in this show, instead of being two, I guess you could call them, like, at the beginning, like, losers that didn't know what to do, that just worked at a park and just kind of barely made ends meet. They weren't financially responsible, except towards the end where, you know, they kind of grow up and they figure out what they want to do and they form a life, and it kind of ends like that. This one is the character is already married and they have a kid, but they're also just kind of getting by. The main character is 31 because, you know, that's how old he is, and that's kind of how old we are. At least me and Jason.
Yep.
Wait, I'm not 31 yet. I'm so young.
Hey, you will be soon.
So again,
soon.
it's kind of like oh, it's like literally our age group, and you know, they're just trying to get by with their house. They're living with another couple that is divorced because, you know, just to pay the rent and stuff. And the plots seem to kind of escalate in the same way that they do in regular show. Like they've only released one episode, which is made out of 2 11-minute episodes, for free online on YouTube and Twitter. So that's all I've seen so far. And Jason, I was actually kind of surprised and
that I've seen.
That sounds really cool that he actually stayed at a drive-thru. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they, I mean, we'll let you talk about it a bit more if there's more you want to say, but yeah, they, I went to a drive-in, a pop-up drive-in at the Rose Bowl to see Palm Springs, which I'll talk about in a minute here, but they, before the movie, doors open at 4, movie was at 5, and they were screening 2 full episodes of Close Enough, and Yeah, I did not I recognized the art style immediately, but I didn't really know that, all the backstory that you gave, and I never really watched regular show that much, which now that you mentioned the Miyamoto reference, I'm like, how did I not? But, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It had it kind of had a weird, almost Black Mirror vibe to it. One of the episodes is, without really saying too much, is, the wife of J.C. Quintel's character goes, to an open house, and is like, oh, this is kind of a nice refuge, and decides to stay there, and it gets kind of weird, and suddenly she's in a sitcom, and is stuck in the sitcom.
That house being
the Full House
the park from regular show.
Oh, is it? And the whole thing's a riff on Full House in terms of the sitcom, but and the whole thing it gets kind of demented and weird and Black Mirror-y, but in a cartoony way, which is kind of interesting. It's you could tell that HBO Max just let him run wild with it, basically.
Yeah, it's very much lighthearted, but it's also, I mean, it can get dark, but even in regular show, it never gets to the point where it's oh man, this is deep. It's just more, it's very self-referential. I mean, I guess not self-referential. I guess it gets real, but in a funny way. I don't know, it's interesting, but also the other episode, literally it's just them. They go to their kids' school. They have to make a quilt. So they're just trying to get threads, and somehow they get involved with these British kids that end up being old people that they have to run away from. And yeah, it's crazy.
Also it's very much like I was saying Black Mirror, but the more I think about it, it kind of has a Rick and Morty vibe where it's a simple thing that then somehow escalates into something totally absurd, but then de-escalates back but with some sort of human connection in the process.
Yeah, kind of well, that happened.
Yeah, but then they come out of it better.
Yeah, which is literally the exact same type of humor from regular show, and like Jason pointed out, it's the exact same art style. So if you love regular show, or at least found yourself enjoying some episodes, then you'll definitely enjoy this. And it's literally cut from the same cloth, and I wouldn't be surprised if you might even have the characters cameo, because it's still produced by Cartoon Network. At the end of the show, you still have the Cartoon Network Studios bumper that a bunch of shows have. And I don't know if the show was literally delayed in production, because it was supposed to come out years ago, and then it was supposed to come out in TBS sometime last year or 2 years ago, because I remember going to Comic-Con and we met J.G. Quintel and we got to talk to him about it, and he was just oh man, this show, I just want it to come out. But so I don't know if that meant that it was already done, so maybe some things will be dated in there, or if it just kind of pushed off production and they finally got the ball rolling with HBO Max. But
yeah, so I think that's what happened once the HBO Max. I think he talked about in AMA that once HBO Max became a thing, it didn't delay production. I think they had to go through all the legal hoops of the bureaucratic stuff to see where the show was going to have to end up on.
And it's so weird because it's all one company at this point. It's all AT&T, Warner, Cartoon Network, Media, TBS, all of it. But they still, the problem with these sorts of crazy mergers and all these subdivisions is you still have to jump through hoops. I feel really bad for him because, this show would not have aired on Cartoon Network as it is now. There's no doubt in my mind that it would have been Adult Swim at best. And then
they were never planning on airing it on Cartoon Network.
Oh yeah. But I mean, so that was never.
But yeah, Adult Swim at best,
Cartoon Network's producing it because he has a contract with them probably. And then Warner's well, what else is in our stable? Well, we could put it on TBS. We're trying to do more American Comedy there. We got American Dad's now exclusive to it. Let's try that. And then they start doing that, and then probably from higher up, an AT&T exec, hey, we're getting it. I don't know why their exec is Fat Albert, but it is. We're getting. we're gonna do a streaming service and compete with Netflix, so we want a few shows from each of you, bring it forward. And they're probably well, we haven't actually promoted this yet, so let's just scoot it over. So it's a whole rigmarole. Yeah. So it probably sucks for him because he's probably getting pulled every which way, once a month. Oh, now you're over here. Okay, now you're over there. Oh, actually, you're gonna be over here. And with each move comes different standards of content expectations in terms of age range, what he can get away with on the show and what they expect to be in line with the brand of the network and all that stuff. So it probably was awful, I would guess, to go through that.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like he was able to do what he wanted. I mean, it's literally regular show Unchained. And I mean, as someone who really, really loved regular show along with my brother and my friend, we literally went to the premiere of regular show, the movie, I had a screening in somewhere in downtown LA, even though it was kind of in an inconvenient spot. But yeah, so this is a show that I would definitely want to. Like, I'm gonna get the. I think since I haven't gotten HBO Max or anything, I think I get like 1 free week. Like a friend of mine did that to watch a bunch of Ghibli movies, which is awesome. But I think I'm gonna use that to try to just binge this whole show.
I got you, bro. I'll give you my password.
Oh, damn, even better. But yeah, like
piracy on record. Ooh.
Hey, it still supports the show because if he probably wouldn't have watched it, at least they know it's getting watched. I'd rather. I mean, honestly, like, yeah, I'd rather do that or like use my free trial or something because it's the kind of since I really want to support the show, I don't want to just go on some website and watch it. Like, I would still want to. Like, if there's a Blu-ray, like, I'll definitely buy it. So,
right,
yeah. We'll see how it turns out. I'm sure I'm gonna like it, but I'll probably come back like 2 weeks from now and just be like, yep, it was worth it. And that's pretty much it, because there's really not much more to say at this point. It's going to get crazy and weird, but...
Right.
Yeah.
I am curious if it holds up for all 8. Like, if it stays as crazy and weird as you want it to be.
Yeah. The thing is, like, regular show was episodic. Like, you don't really have to... There wasn't really an overarching story until the later seasons where it kind of did become episodic. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, story-driven, but not too much. Like, there were overarching plots. So I don't know. I'm sure this one will kind of start the same way. The first few seasons might be not really connected, and then maybe towards the end, everything has to come together, or there'll have to be some big change or something. But we'll see. We will see.
That's what was that sigh? Oh, a long wait.
No, just like finally.
Yeah,
we're home.
You made it.
Well, what I was saying is like it's great that it's finally out, but it's even better that. Like, the cherry on top is that it's also good, from the sounds of it.
Yeah, that'd be the worst.
I just hope it gets passed around and people actually watch it.
Has it gotten picked up for season 2 yet?
Yeah, has it?
I don't know.
So I know a lot of shows nowadays just get picked up before the first episode
we would
comes
know
out.
by now.
Yeah, because that's the double-edged sword of streaming is on the one hand, they can make stuff that's more niche and then they can renew it faster because, it's cheaper to make. They don't have to like promote it. They just store it on the streaming service. But on the flip side of that, they don't promote it. No one watches it, and it'll get those 2 seasons and then just disappear forever. So
I honestly don't know how the average person would react. They'll either like stick around for the ride and be like, "Oh, that was pretty funny," or they'll be like, "Yeah, this is kind of stupid," and just not watch it. So,
anecdotally, it was winning people over at the drive-in, from what I could tell.
Oh. Good to hear.
Let's talk about your driving experience.
Yeah. So before it's funny because his whole build-up into what Close Enough is and how it started with his fandom of something else is kind of why I went to the drive-in, because I saw Palm Springs, which is a Lonely Island production, and I love the guys at Lonely Island, so I'm going to probably do something similar.
Palm Springs.
But yeah, the drive-in. That was interesting. That was interesting. So the drive-in, so what they did is there's already 1 or 2 in LA proper. You would think there'd be more considering we're a car city, but I guess drive-ins have kind of wilted on the vine over the years. But anyway, so what they did is they put a giant LED screen that is bright enough to see almost perfectly fine except when it's a totally dark scene in daylight. So the screening I went to was actually at 5 p.m. and they put this huge screen in the parking lot of the Rose Bowl over in Pasadena. And they made it like a thing. Like, it was an event. Like, so Tribeca Film Fest is the one doing this. They have it at 4 major places around the country, like AT&T Stadium down in Texas, the Rose Bowl here, etc. And then they also teamed up with Walmart, and they're doing the same curated playlist of movies in like thousands of Walmart parking lots, with much smaller LED screens. But this screen was massive, first of all. But what's cool is they're curating a list of movies, and most of them are actually like summer classics. Old and new. So we're talking, it was funny, we were talking about Superbad before. That was one of them. The Dark Knight's one of them. And then they go back to like Jaws and E.T. and it's like a whole range. And I think the website's like TribecaDrivein.com or something for anyone who wants to see if there's one near them. But what's cool is when you go, it's like, it almost feels like a brand activation, sort of like they try and make it a real event. So you go, you pay $25 per car, and that's it. You can have however many people you want in the car. So really it's the equivalent of getting, 2 movie tickets. But when you get there, they obviously have it synced up with the radio, but you can also sync it up with a app on or a website on your phone and just use Bluetooth in your car. So there's multiple ways to listen, and they also have concessions set up in a way where you don't even need to interact with anyone really. They give you a piece of paper that has instructions on how you basically text a number. They send you a menu, you look at the menu, and then you just walk over to a stand and grab your food. So you don't have to like be near anyone, you don't have to do anything. They just prepare it, put it in a bag, leave it there, and then you go get it. So like
Can
all
someone
this
just steal your food?
Well, I mean that's true of any pickup restaurant, takeout right now. Is they just
True.
put it
Like
down
I'm
and you grab
always
it.
worried. I'm always worried that they're gonna take my burrito when I order at Chipotle.
Well,
Because they just have them in racks.
Yeah, on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, you just gotta
and
trust.
no one ever
trust,
stops you
man.
either. I'll
Trust.
go in, grab my bag, and just bounce and no one will say anything.
I think
It's
at this
like-
point, the health and safety concerns trump the fear of theft. So Chipotle, these guys at the drive-in, whatever, will take the hit of potentially someone stealing one every so often in the name of making people actually want to come in and buy it. So, because I've
You should try that one day. Just walk into a Chipotle and then just grab a random bag and then just walk
Just
back.
walk
Be like,
out.
see, it was that easy. And then,
Kevin,
put the-
homework assignment for next episode. Try it. Let us know how it goes. But
Jesus
Be better.
Christ, no.
But yeah, so they have the concession stuff. But what's also kind of cool is because it feels like an event, they did like stuff. So we get there and they had a blue carpet photo op. This is real. You drive your car. AT&T sponsored it. It's only at the big location, so Rose Bowl, AT&T Stadium, etc. But you drive your car onto a step and repeat blue carpet, and it's wide enough for the car. And then they have a photo op with like fake paparazzi sound effects, and you stay in the car and you take the picture, and then you drive off the red carpet, and then they give you like all this free stuff.
Blue carpet.
Yeah, or blue carpet. Yeah, so they gave us like these really nice tote bags that were like branded with the drive-in, the Tribeca drive-in. They gave us like these fleece blankets, and they give you one for every person in the car. So we have like, well, I guess there's just two of us, but we have like 2 tote bags and 2 blankets. And then we drive a few feet further, and Heineken's standing there, and they're like, "Hey, do you guys want to try Heineken alcohol-free, 0% alcohol, whatever they call it?" And we were like, "Well, why not?"
No.
We don't, but we will anyway. And they gave us like, all right, great. Here's a 6-pack to enjoy now, and here's a 6-pack to take home for your own movie night. We're like, what? Why are they giving us so much stuff? So we have like 12 cans of alcohol-free Heineken. We have these blankets and tote bags.
Pause.
Yeah.
Pause. Did you drink them?
I've had one.
They are terrible.
You know what's weird about them? This is the second time I've been handed free
It's an
Heineken.
acquired taste.
So this is the second time I've been handed free alcohol-free Heineken. One was one of my coworkers, like it was some Twitter promotion or something, and they just got delivered to the office, so we all tried it in the office from a bottle, and it was awful. Right. This time, I was sitting in a car under the sun in 85-degree heat. The car was black. The Heineken was ice cold. And you know what? It was better. It was in a can, and it was better.
Oh, man. I was hoping that you would say it was still crap.
No. It wasn't great. I don't know what to do with these other... so I had... there's only been one can drank, and we had 2 6-packs. Girlfriend tried first sip. She's like, "Nope," and just handed it to me, and I finished that one. And I don't know what to do with the other 11 ones. They're just in my car.
Throw them away. We have like 2 24-packs in our office at work that have just been sitting there since Rolling Loud last year. So they've been sitting there since December, and like we tried one as soon as we got them. And they're like, "Nope," and then every now and then, me and my coworkers will just look at each other and like we'll dare each other to drink them. Because they are so terrible. They're probably expired by now. It's so disgusting.
They weren't,
I mean,
like, when they're ice cold, they're
gets-
not that bad.
Even then, though, like, I don't know who would drink, like, Budweiser, Coors, Heineken, like, any just generic beer flavor just for the beer taste. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people out there, but I think
me being one of them.
that beer flavor is
I
just
enjoy a
disgusting.
Michelob Ultra.
I love me a shock top, but that's because it's citrusy.
I mean, that sounds more fancy than
Yeah. No,
just
some
the
people just like
usual
that.
the
beer
Yeah.
pong
Budweiser.
beer. Like, I don't think I would ever drink the beer pong beer just for...
What is funny is I'm so used to beer equaling drinking that, like, I drank the can and I was like, I feel like I have a placebo buzz. Like, I clearly do not. It has no alcohol, though they still made us show ID to grab it, which was kind of, or to give it to us, which was kind of funny. But
It tastes like apple cider that's been out in the sun way too long.
see, to me, it tasted like Heineken. Like, have you had normal Heineken, like, with alcohol? It tastes surprisingly similar. Which
I
means,
guess that's
but then
the
again, I'm not the
thing.
biggest fan of regular Heineken either, because it does kind of taste like apple cider left in the sun.
I like regular Heineken.
But yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, I went drinking regularly. But anyway, point is, so we're driving through the
I'm more of a
drive-in.
Rolling Rock kind of guy.
Oh, are you? I've never heard you once reference it before now. Were you just Googling
think I
beers
tried
on
it-
the side?
No, I tried it once at college, and that was it.
I'm more of a Natty Light type of guy. No, God, no. But Keystone,
I'm more of a Kirkland Light kind of guy.
I'm more of that Kirkland vodka.
That good Costco beer where you can get 60 beers for $12.
Milwaukee's best is where it's at.
Ugh.
Pabst Blue Ribbon. PBR, guys, PBR.
Hey, PBR is fine, okay?
Yeah, it's actually.
Yeah, you actually went up now.
I know, I am going up. But anyway, yeah. So, point is, so you go into the drive-thru and you do all these things, and then you park, and they have you space 6 feet, and everything has the health and safety precautions. So when they give you stuff to wearing gloves, it's in plastic or paper or whatever. They have AT&T reps walking around giving out free hand sanitizer. And then you sit there, and before the movie, they showed 2 episodes of Close Enough, which was kind of cool. I think I looked it up. I think they actually do other HBO Max shows for other screenings. So Palm Springs is
owned
basically
by a
R-rated.
company or something?
No, it's just a branding partnership. Basically, like, when you go to Comic-Con or any event, how they have all these brands that sponsor and do like all these activations. It was that inside the drive-in, which made it kind of cool.
Weird because
it felt like an event. Cool.
It's weird because Close Enough is owned by like a Warner conglomerate, but isn't Palm Springs Hulu? Yeah,
meaning
I think
it's
Disney now,
100%. Well, yeah, but in a way, it's no different than you go to a movie theater and they have the pre-roll with like, here's the first look at 3 movies that you probably would have cared about in a trailer, but don't need the behind the scenes for. So like those are all other competing studios. It's the same as how they attach trailers to one another. It's all.
But I feel that's more because of the theater and not because of the content.
Well, I think that's the same here. Is Tribeca Film Festival organized this whole thing and had all these sponsors chip in, but they themselves, I think, are running it. Yeah, it's not Disney's not running this.
I mean, this sounds more worth it to pay like the $20 than it would to go watch a regular movie in theaters.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. And to be fair, the Heineken thing and the AT&T thing, your mileage may vary. Not every location's got to have it. Not every screening has it. We got lucky that we were at the start of what they considered the weekend, so they did it that like Thursday through Sunday. But it is still really cool, and it really did feel like it was nice to like get to go do a thing in a place and have it like have the experience of like going to like a cool like event in LA, like where there's the free swag and random little unexpected things. So that was really nice. But yeah, and the screen, like the funny thing is, before the movie started, they ran IMAX as one of the sponsors. I'm guessing they put up the screen, even though honestly the screen is just, when you go like a music festival and they have that massive screen behind the artist now, and it's like clear as day even in broad daylight. That's the screen essentially. They're using one of those, but for some reason they IMAX branded it, and then it is this whole thing about experience IMAX sound, and I'm like, but we're in our cars with our own sound systems. What are you talking about? And no one shot Palm Springs with an IMAX camera. It's like an indie film. What are you talking about? But anyway, it is cool. I would recommend checking it out. It's something different to do. They treat it safely, and it's a chance to just get out for a bit.
Was Palm Springs. All right.
So that was Palm Springs.
Even though you're inside.
Even though you're inside. But so that's Palm Springs. No, but then of course the movie itself. Yeah, it also actually has kind of as much build up as I gave for the drive-in. Like the movie itself has some interesting history because it was, I don't know if you guys know, Palm Springs is the single most expensive film purchase made at Sundance ever. Hulu bought it for the record I should say was $17.5 million, and Hulu offered The Lonely Island $17.5 million. And in typical Lonely Island fashion, they're like, well, what if we like exceeded the record? Do you want to throw in an extra 69 cents? And Hulu said sure, and then it was purchased for $17.5 million and 69 cents. And of course, The Lonely Island did a nice joke and everything. But yeah, so it's different than other Lonely Island movies because I think this may be one of the few movies that's a Lonely Island production, but not necessarily fully Lonely Island. So they've produced some other stuff like Brigsby Bear, I believe, a couple years ago. But this one, like, it literally starts with a Lonely Island logo as part of like the opening bumpers. It's actually
have a logo?
They do now. It says Lonely Island Classics, and it's the exact same as the Sony Pictures Classic.
Of course, they would call it Lonely Island's Classics,
dude. And the logo's literally a ripoff of the Sony Pictures Classic. Like, it's the blue with the white line. It's the exact same logo. It's pretty funny, but yeah, and
so the big question is, can you compare it, or how does it compare to Groundhog Day? Because that's
okay. We need to back it up before we even get there. I was gonna say one thing is the premise itself.
It's just a yes or
hold
a
on.
no.
The premise itself is a bit of a spoiler, so if you want to go in blind, there is something to be said for that. So skip ahead if you don't want to know anything.
Is it a yes or no? Because you asked them, how does it compare?
Yeah, that's not a yes or no. Yeah,
that's not a yes or no.
Fine.
Anything is
fine. Is it better?
Anything's
is it better?
Is it better?
Okay, so
is it better?
It's different. I like it a lot. Like, a lot. It's a modernization.
Do you, Jason Reckman, like it more than Groundhog Day?
I think I do, but I'm a Lonely Island fan as well, so that humor sort of...
There's some
I only asked the yes or no question.
I do, I think.
I didn't do that story.
So let me. It's a little different than Groundhog Day. So it is, like many other movies, a movie that's ultimately about time loop. And Groundhog Day is obviously the originator of that, but a lot of other things, shows, movies, etc., have done it since. This one's twist on it, besides it being Lonely Island, because there are definitely some like typical Lonely Island jokes in here, but it's also not a typical Lonely Island movie. Like, there's some lines I'm like, yup, Andy Samberg definitely is like, I'm gonna improvise that line. Like, you could see when like that shines through versus like the more indie vibes of some of the other parts of it. But what's different from this than Groundhog Day is it's ultimately kind of a romantic comedy, but it's one that's actually sort of dark. Like, it's as much a romantic comedy as it is these two characters trying to like come to terms with who they are and being okay with that. Like, it's not like a typical one. It's like, oh, the like sloppy guy and the girl makes him better, or oh, like, you know, the girl's going through stuff and then here comes this guy that sweeps her off her feet. It's not like that. They're both like kind of awful people in their own ways, but then they sort of like make their way through. But it means that like it's a bit darker than Groundhog Day. Like, the cynicism that Bill Murray had in Groundhog Day isn't here in the same way. It actually has a lot in that regard, more like innocence and kind of like kind of funny like pureness to it almost, but it gets more it does for sure get more, it has like a darker undercurrent, I guess you could say, and that sort of opens the door to it being a more adult comedy, because, you know, it's not like playing as a kind of family friendly thing like Groundhog Day was a bit more of. Like, this one's more definitely raunchier, definitely more modern in a way. Like, I guess the cynicism of the early 90s was in Groundhog Day in the same way that this kind of has like the tone of like a typical movie today, you know, sex jokes and stuff. But yeah, it does also, because of that, have some more serious moments, because it's about these two people basically discovering who they actually are. So like it gets surprisingly like heavy in some parts, and there's also like a little streak of violence in there, which I don't want to spoil, but there's some violent acts. So it's like, don't get me wrong, it's still a comedy for sure. And there's like a lot of absurdity, especially in the fact that like Samberg, his character Niles, is like, he's been in this endless loop forever, so he is super comfortable with everything, and it's like basically like Bill Murray at his peak, where he like knows exactly how to do every single move in Groundhog Day and make everything work in his favor. But then the wrench being thrown in here is he accidentally leads another character into the time loop, played by Kristen Milioti, I think, of How I Met Your Mother.
And she's always been there. He just messed up that time, I guess, or he never.
So she plays a girl named Sarah, and basically she's in his day that's looping. Yeah. She's obviously there, but one time something goes a little awry. I'm not going to say much, and she ends up getting sucked into the time loop too. So that's immediately, actually at the surface level, I was getting all heady about it, but at the surface level, that's the difference between Groundhog Day and this, is there's already two people, and it's about kind of one person. So you have one person that's Bill Murray at his peak, I love this loop, and you have one person who's at the peak of Bill Murray being like, I need to get out of this loop, and they're kind of side by side. And they kind of like bounce off of each other, and you kind of like, you watch like Samberg come to terms with like, oh, maybe I don't want to be in this loop, while Milioti's character is like, oh, maybe I do want to be in this loop, and they kind of just keep switching back and forth, and then sort of come to terms with what they actually want. So it's interesting just because it's already like times two, basically. But yeah, it's really like, it's just, I just really liked it a lot. It's hard to describe without saying too much, because like, you know, it's not that deep of a movie, so if I reveal too much, it kind of like, the ride of it is fun, and it does have that kind of over the top Lonely Island aspect, but I do like that these guys are actually starting to branch out and do other stuff. Like, I was actually watching an interview with them last night, and they produced it, and obviously Andy Samberg stars in it, but apparently this was more of a hands-on production thing. Like, it was, you know, they got the script, they were into it, they went out into the desert, they didn't have like a studio backing or anything, so it was kind of their own thing, which means they had to be a little more hands-on. They were like rewriting it on the fly and doing all sorts of other stuff, and so it's a little more of a true Lonely Island movie than like, you know, Pen 15 on Hulu as a show, where it's just like there and Lonely Island throws money at it, or like I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson on Netflix, that's also produced by Lonely Island, but they're just kind of, you know, are there to be like, oh, you're over budget, we'll talk to the studio for you. But this one, they were actually like in the trenches, it sounds like.
So Akiva and Yorma weren't aside from producing it, they didn't do anything else.
They were not in the movie whatsoever. No, they.
But they didn't write it. They didn't.
I think
or
I don't know. I'm not as sure. No, it was directed by someone else. It was written by someone else, and then Lonely Island punched up the script a bit and kind of injected a little of their humor.
Okay, gotcha.
But they, I'm not sure. I think this was mostly a Sandberg joint that they just kind of joined in on a little. But in a way, that's kind of what's exciting about it to me, because like Lonely Island, like those guys have a certain brand of humor, right? And you know, some of it works, some of it doesn't. Usually, I'd say more often than not, it works. But they definitely have this brand of humor that they're now.
Have you seen Popstar?
I love Popstar. Don't you dare.
I love Popstar. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about, dude?
I haven't seen Popstar. I was just throwing.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I was like,
I was just throwing a random name out.
I think you would like Popstar.
Interesting thing
Have
about
you seen Hot
Popstar.
Rod?
I have seen Hot Rod. Interesting thing
do
about
you not like Hot Rod?
me
I
or
haven't
him?
seen it either.
Oh my god.
Interesting thing about Popstar that I learned from that same Lonely Island interview.
What a troll.
If anyone is a Lonely Island fan that's listening, go to Collider's YouTube. They just put up a 45-minute interview with these guys the other day. It's really good. But apparently, Lonely Island was not into Popstar being marketed as a Bieber spoof. They did not. The only thing that they didn't write for that movie was the subtitle "Never Stop, Never Stopping." They did not come up with that. They didn't want that. It was originally a working title of Connor for Real. And then the studio was like, oh, we got to market it this way. And they were like, there's only 3 Bieber jokes in the whole movie. And they made sure they were in every commercial and every trailer. And like, that's why like when you watch the marketing, it's like, haha, Bieber. And then you watch the movie and it's almost more of a story of the Lonely Island.
I don't like the title Connor for Real though, if we're being honest.
Well, that was a working title. I don't know if they're going to stick with it, but they were never going to call it Never Stop, Never Stopping. They weren't going to do a Bieber riff. The studio insisted for marketing. The whole thing, because really the whole, like, if you, I mean, Angel, you haven't. Yeah, well, yeah, that's how it works when they, that's how it works. I know. No, but I was going to say that, if you, like, when you watch the movie, it really is more than, a Bieber spoof. It's basically the story of the Lonely Island, told through the lens of, like, fame, effect, you know, like the pop machine and how it affects kids, except they kind of, like, put their story inside that at the same time. Obviously, they didn't go through some of that stuff.
So the whole Lonely Island crew actually appears in it, not just Andy Samberg?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yorm is his DJ, and Kiva is
the original
lyricist.
songwriter.
Yeah, the original lyricist, yeah. But yeah, no, it's very much... I mean, the whole thing is basically a series of... It has a through line. No, it has a through line, but it very much feels like they just were like, all right, let's do a bunch of songs, and we're going to do a bunch of SNL-style digital shorts, but then we're going to string them together with a plot. Except it works. Like, that sounds like it wouldn't work, but it totally works.
That bee scene had me cracking up.
Oh, yeah. There's so many good scenes in that. But yeah, so Lonely Island, not Lonely Island, Palm Springs is a very different vibe than Popstar. Like, it's less, like, Palm Springs definitely has some silly stuff, but it's definitely, like, a cut from a different cloth than Popstar, and I think that, like, when I was saying, oh, Lonely Island has, like, production team now, and they have that logo, I think that, coming out of this, that's kind of what I was most excited about. Like, the movie was really good, I really liked it, but I like the fact that they're diversifying. Like, I like the fact that they can have their fingers in the pies of shows like Pen 15 and I Think You Should Leave, and then do a movie like this, and then do something silly like Popstar. And like right now, I believe Yorm is working on the MacGruber series for Peacock. I
have to get Peacock to watch that.
Peacock's free, ad supported.
Oh, okay.
So you might be okay.
God.
I don't know if all the shows will be free, but I know some are. So that'll be on Peacock.
Wait, which is where The Office is gonna be?
And Parks.
Huh. So
and 30 Rock.
I guess it'll be more accessible?
Yep, in a way.
Interesting.
But, yeah, there's gonna be...
I thought it was a paid thing.
They have a paid tier with no ads, and I think some of the content's gonna be exclusively behind the paywall, but I'm not sure what.
Okay, if Parks is ad-supported, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's how it used to be.
Hulu all the time, so I don't really care.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so like Yorm's doing that, and then Akiva's doing something with Rescue Rangers, which I was like, wait, what? I didn't hear about that. So I guess they're rebooting Rescue Rangers. I think, but I'm not sure. And then Andy obviously has Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So like they're all already doing their own thing, but it's kind of cool to see that like as the Lonely Island, as like a brand, they're doing their own thing. Because what's interesting is like this movie, if I'm not mistaken, was shot around the same time, if not simultaneously, that the Lonely Island was doing the Bash Brothers experience last year. Do either of you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
My name is Jose.
Okay, you do.
Yeah, of course.
So
I love the Lonely Island.
Super Bash Brothers.
Yes, Melee. Yes. No, but
that one, right?
No. So for those
Super Bash Brothers Lonely.
Yeah. But yeah, Dude, Bash Brothers was like... So as they're making this movie, which I recommend, it's on Hulu. Well, it's a good movie. I really liked it. Go see it. But as they're doing that movie, they're also doing the most absurd, most Lonely Island like thing you could imagine, which was the unofficial Bash Brothers experience, which was their riff on basically the concept albums with accompanying films, like Beyonce's Lemonade. Except instead of it being about anything of note, it was about the Oakland A's 80s like baseball power duo of Mark McGuire and Jose. I've just blanked out his last name.
Jose Canseco.
Yeah.
Canseco?
What?
Yeah.
He's in it?
Canseco's not. They're not in it, but Andy and
he's referenced.
Kiva. Yeah, it's about them. It's a fake audio.
They're the main characters.
It's a fake autobiographical story about these two.
Played by the Lonely Island guys.
Yeah.
Man,
so
I watched
basically,
it just because of that reference, since he's a Ninja Turtle reference.
Yeah, so it's funny because it's like they made a concept album, like full on a 26-minute, I guess EP, of songs about these two, their rise and fall from their perspective, and then they made a accompanying weird Netflix thing, and they were doing this absurd thing, which is actually, I would argue, one of their better albums just in terms of production, at the same time that they were filming Palm Springs, which is like definitely a different vibe. So it's really cool that they actually have been able to diversify like that. And yeah, Angel, it's super weird, just so you know. Like they did it like, they're just like, we're gonna do this weird thing and people like it great. And that means that like it's gonna be weird. I just need to be very clear. It's good, but it's gonna be weird.
Quick. We don't need to get into details. What is the best what's the best Lonely Island album?
Well, that's easy.
Oh boy. You know, I feel like I'm biased because of recency.
Nope. I
really like Bash Brothers. Let me tell you why I really like Bash Brothers.
Nope. That's
Wait, but I want no. Hold on.
I'm gonna say turtleneck and chain. All right, continue.
About why Bash Brothers? Okay, I'm gonna say it real quick.
No. Just continue.
No, now I'm saying it. It's too late. I'm gonna say it. I really want to say it.
No.
I think what they did so well with Bash Brothers.
Oh my god.
No. I think what they did so well is like they have so many styles in there, but it tells a story. Like they've never done that where they had like usually it's just one-off silly songs, but this one there's literally a story through the songs. So even though one song sounds like a Beastie Boys bravado track and one song's like a slow jam song with Sia on it randomly, and then there's like one that literally sounds like a Yeezus B-side by the end, like they have the screams and the like heavy bass. They jump through all that, but it's like actually the most cohesive thing they've done in terms of. I guess Turtleneck and Chain comes close because they had recurring lyrics and references. I'm more
partial to Incredibad.
I think Bash Brothers is the most like cohesive, like the most like it feels like a whole piece. But Incredibad is some of my favorites. I really like the song Boombox, which does not get enough love. By Julian Casablancas or with
Actually,
Julian
no,
Casablancas.
the Whack album. I'm a Whack album guy. I love Go Kindergarten. Love that song.
Yeah. I kind of wish that like they still had an outlet like SNL to get these videos out, because obviously they could put them on YouTube, they could do it on Netflix, they can make movies for Hulu, but like having them on TV definitely gave them a boost that sort of started to like fade away with the Whack album, because I think by then they were already off SNL or winding down from SNL. But also a good one on that album is the one with Solange, Semicolon or whatever, the one where they do the
Semicolon,
whole, the grammar thing. Really there's actually kind of a reference to that in Palm Springs. There's a whole scene that involves like saying the grammar as they go, and I was like, oh, this has to be a reference. Like, there's no way it's not. But yeah, so that was Palm Springs, and then a lot more than Palm Springs. Point is, it's cool that the Lonely Island's doing more stuff, and I hope this is the start of like a whole new wave for them of more diversified content that all has kind of their sense of humor strung throughout. But I recommend it. It's a good movie.
Cool. Moving on from something completely different, Angel finally saw Hamilton.
Yeah. I did not plan on watching this movie, let alone... Yeah, I just didn't plan on watching it. I heard it was good. I knew there was a chance I was probably going to enjoy it, but I just didn't really care enough to bother watching it. It felt like I got what I needed from just word of mouth. Even just like some, and even just a few clips here and there that I just saw because I was curious about like what this rotating stage would look like. And I really was satisfied. I was like, I really don't need to watch this. I don't think I care enough about the topic or whatever. But I do this thing with my sister and brother-in-law every week where we have a movie night. At one point, like, it was just movies I wanted to watch with them or just show them every single week. But at some point, I really wanted them to have an active role in it, so we just started taking turns picking movies. And the rule was that no matter what they pick, we have to watch it, no complaining. So, so we alternate it. So like,
So
well, no, like well, no, it's all equal. Like we've enjoyed every movie we've all seen. There's just been some like when my brother-in-law, I think he picked like Big Short, and then I think like my sister and I, we were kind of like, oh, it doesn't sound that interesting. Like, it doesn't sound that interesting. Like let's watch some. Like, we were like kind of like a little hesitant, and then we watched it and we really enjoyed it. It kind of bummed us out a little, but we really enjoyed it.
Are you talking about Big Short?
Yeah, The Big Short.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's really
like
well
if
done.
it wasn't for like. And if it wasn't for this kind of rotation, we wouldn't have watched Moneyball. We wouldn't have watched Crazy Rich Asians. We couldn't have watched, Big Short and, something else like Devil Wears Prada or Point Break, and then a bunch of other animated stuff that I would throw in anyway. But yeah, so it's been great. So this week, they had just seen Hamilton the week before, and they wanted to watch it again. And I mean, I enjoyed it. I think right after it was finished, I definitely felt like my initial impression was, yeah, I feel like I didn't need to see it. Like, I felt like I felt like the satisfaction that I had, it didn't really go beyond that. But honestly, like, moments after, just like, just having a discussion around it after watching it with my sister and my brother-in-law, and then just letting it sit for a while, just made me appreciate it more as time went on. And I actually came around to being like, well, actually, I really liked it. Like, there's a lot of stuff about history I just don't care about, because, I mean, just growing up, history class was my least favorite subject. I'm sure that's a very common thing. And especially, like, history that has to do with, like, how the country came to be. Like, I do love history, but obviously, like, as much as other people do in subjects they care about. Like, I know, like, Jason and I could go into, like, history of Nintendo and blah, blah, blah. Or I love the history of animation.
I literally did with The Lonely Island, like, 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. Or, yeah, we were talking about... Yeah, like, there's a bunch of different types of history I care about, but, like, U.S. history was something that I was very much like, I worry about current history, like, whatever. But I don't know how much of this is 100%. I don't know how much of this is accurate. I mean, I really doubt everyone was singing all the time back then. I'm just kidding, but...
Actually, fun fact, they were.
It really was.
Rapping. They had rap battles in Congress. It's true.
I mean, yeah, the genres they bounced between was really interesting. Because, I mean, I definitely am more of a... I prefer... more, I don't really know what genre of music that is, but I mean, when I listen to music with vocals, I definitely prefer more song than rap or lyrical talking, which is there's a lot of here. So it's not like I'm saying like I have to like sit through this rap. I mean, it was so interesting, but it's not like like I really feel the flow of this like I do with other music. Like, yeah, but
and I mean, what's unfortunate for you is Hamilton's one of the few musicals where I think there's one or two total lines of not song dialogue.
If I remember, because like literally this is less than 12 hours ago that I saw it. There was only one segment where there wasn't any kind of rhyming whatsoever. Every other time there was just they were singing through,
and there's always a beat.
But yeah, like now, like having this is myself more from that viewing, I really appreciate it. I mean, and like I said, I don't know how much of it is true. Do you know? Like, is everything supposed to be accurate? As far as you guys
partly...
Because I don't want to... Because, it's not like coming off of a... Because there's that big thing that people say, like, oh, man, this is really cool because it's stuff that actually happened. And I heard that many times. But I feel like because something happened doesn't automatically make it a good story. I feel like a lot of stuff that we saw in it weren't that surprising, weren't that, like oh, crazy, but... It's like, oh, I guess because it happened, it makes it crazier. There were some parts that felt like, oh, this is kind of out of character. This just kind of came out of nowhere, and it kind of felt like it kind of just resolved itself and didn't really impact the story much.
Impression... Or sorry, finish your thought, and then I'll answer what you were saying in a second.
But at the same time, it's like, oh, but that's how it actually happened. It's like, well, yeah, but I mean, that didn't make it feel any less, like, weird or kind of out of place. I mean, that doesn't really excuse it, but, but it's like, but if it did happen, I mean, it's also, on the other hand, it's like, oh, that's good to know. I actually had no idea this Eliza, or I forgot her name, like, existed, or that she did this many things after Hamilton's death. Like, it's crazy. Like,
a spoiler for history right there.
Yeah, I mean, assuming that's true.
I'm not watching this.
I mean, assuming
Yeah,
that's true,
so-
like,
no, that's
it's,
true.
it's really impressive, and it's really like, oh wow, like I mean, there's a lot of things that they're just kind of thinkers. Like I really enjoyed that about that.
I think to answer your question about the accuracy, so there's been a recent flare up in the last week in like so the movie the play Hamilton came out, first part of the past decade, and in the time since, obviously, so there's been some cultural shifts and things involving like the Black Lives Matter movement and everything. Where some of it, there's been some dialogue that's come out recently about like how does this represent the time? How does having them sing about slavery as being people of that group, like what's that all look like? Like there's all sorts of stuff brewing, but the from my understanding, the base level is Lin-Manuel Miranda found the story of this guy, this scrappy dude who like wanted to run America and then did not run it, but become part of making America and did, and he stayed pretty true to the beats of that guy's life. So it is pretty biographical. It is pretty accurate from my understanding. And that's why some of the story, like you could argue the story doesn't ebb and flow in logical ways, like you're saying, because that's just not how his life was. And it wasn't so much.
Yeah, and I mean,
if you read a novel, if you read a novel, they're going to have plot points that flow. If you read a biography, it's going to just jerk you around like weird ways. And that's kind of like Hamilton's basically a musical biography.
No, yeah,
So,
and it's just like the price of a medium.
But it's also but apparently it's also very selective in what it chooses to depict of Hamilton.
That is, that's part of the debate that's come up more recently too, I think. And it cause he had to, it's a biography that he made points of his life fit an arc of a musical, essentially. But what I think is kind of cool about it is like, since we already spoiled it, not like a spoiler because it's history, but I had no idea Hamilton died how he did. I had no idea that he died how he did. I had no idea that he was the guy that made like the economic side of the country into what it was. I mean, I knew he was on our money and he's the only president not on our money or non-president on our money, but why was that? I never thought about it. And he's like, I mean, the play straight up says this at one point, but he is one of those guys like you don't really like think about, but his story is actually pretty crucial to our history. So it's just it's interesting that like this is the way that he gets his like due in a way, was through a hip hop musical. But yes, I think that Lin-Manuel Miranda I think was trying to find the right balance between trying to do the story and trying to make a musical. So I think the plot honestly was kind of secondary to that. What I think he did really well was hit the things that a musical has to hit, like reprisals, bringing back old songs, bringing back things. Having like there be like themes that repeat and ideas that repeat, like that was all structurally very sound.
Oh yeah,
it kind of required some weird connecting of the dots to get to those points.
Yeah, it just made the pacing kind of weird, but
for example, I think a good example of that is half the play, or like roughly half the play is the build-up of America, and the other half is what happens when when they get the ball rolling. Like, what does Hamilton do next? And I feel like the intermission point should have definitely been when America was founded. But then it goes for like 15 more minutes, and then there is an intermission even in the movie version on Disney Plus, and it goes like another 10 or 15 minutes to some other point, which I guess is a more personal milestone for Hamilton. But as like a plot telling device, maybe like the America breaking free would have been the moment that would be a good like, all right, America, and go get more popcorn. We'll be back in 10 minutes. But so there's some like decisions like that that's kind of like, oh, that's interesting. But I do. So you only first saw it on Disney Plus, right? Like the Pro Shop version. I was fortunate enough to get to see the touring one of it at the Pantages a few years ago. And what is interesting is how
was that with the original cast?
No, that's the thing. It was, and that's what I was gonna say. It's interesting the differences I noticed between that. So I think the Disney Plus
the creator. The one that played Hamilton, is that the same as
it? Not on the one I saw.
Lin-Manuel.
That's Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yes.
Daveed Diggs was also apparently in like
the
OG cast.
Yes, he was. He played two characters. But yeah, so the original cast is what's in the Disney Plus version. And what's interesting is watching that now and then thinking back to what I saw at the Pantages with the touring cast, which is how all musicals do it. They have the touring cast and the main cast on Broadway. It was kind of interesting to see like, so what I saw at the Pantages was actually these guys doing imitations of these guys doing characters. Like I could see the direct, so this is like Thomas Jefferson, for example. They make him this kind of like Little Richard-esque person. Like he has like this like bravado to him, and it's kind of like like kind of
very
hair
much
and like a purple suit. Yeah, and like it's interesting to see. Okay, so he's kind of Little Richard in the original and on the Disney Plus version, but when I saw it at the Pantages, I got more of like a Prince vibe from him. But it was that guy trying to do the Little Richard impersonation that the original actor was doing, or like the Hamilton parallels. Like there was a lot of little things that was just like, oh, I was watching like not a bootleg or a knockoff because there's a fully sanctioned one, and it, Lin-Manuel Miranda was advising it before it went on tour. But like, I feel like I've seen like the real one now, while before I saw like an interpretation or something, which makes sense because it's the original cast versus a different cast. But it's just interesting to be able to compare those, and that kind of made the rewatch interesting on a whole separate level. But then the thing I really like about it, that I want to point out, because I watched it last weekend as well, and turn on subtitles. Like that's my number one recommendation. Yeah. Turn on subtitles, because like the intricacy and like the thing is, Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote this thing himself, from my understanding. I mean, I guess he had people like chime in and give advice, but it was basically his baby. A 2 hour and 40-minute musical written by one dude, which is crazy. And like the intricacy of the wordplay, the rhymes inside rhymes, the hip hop references, not just like in terms of like little like samples of like specific beats or like flows or whatever, but like the actual like lyrical references. Like there's all sorts of these little things that when it's in subtitles, you can actually see it like unfold in front of you and realize just how like crazy good he is at writing this stuff. Because there's some, when you're watching it, there's some parts that go so fast that you gloss right over the fact that he had like a rhyme inside a rhyme inside a rhyme or something like that. And then when you see it like spelled out, you're like, whoa, how did he? That is nuts. And then being
clever. He rhymes subject with subject.
No. There's some that do, but that's all hip hop. Like. Yeah, no, but that's all hip. I mean, he also did the burster thing like every 2 minutes.
To be fair, he was using subject in two different ways at that point, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, there's a lot of like little things, or like, because I feel like with rap, and I guess even when we were talking about the Lonely Island, they do this too, because they're big rap fanboys and they're inspired by it. There's a lot of, it's very referential to itself. Like, there's a lot of rap that references other rap or other things. So, like, seeing how they play off one another, even when the rhymes aren't necessarily elaborate, seeing like how, there was a DMX reference in there. There was like a Notorious B.I.G. reference in there. There was a Jay-Z reference in there. He literally does basically a riff on Eminem's Lose Yourself in there. And like seeing all that and being like, oh, those are those things, even if like subject was subject, whatever. But at the same time, all those artists and then what these guys are inspired by them also do is those rhymes you don't expect, where like they tweak the syllable just the right amount where like a word that shouldn't rhyme kind of works, and then seeing it in writing makes you realize, oh wow, they really like got clever with that. So that's kind of what I took away from watching it again, was being able to actually stop and go, oh, that's like Eminem's Lose Yourself, hang on, and like being able to pause it and be like, yeah, this is the same, and that sort of thing. But which you can't do in the live one, and it glosses, and it's such a long thing. It's 2 hours 40 minutes that like when you're out of the musical and walk away, you're just like, okay, that was Hamilton, that was cool, but like to be able to actually stop and go, if you want to nerd out about this stuff and go, where did he pull that from, where did he pull that from, like it's pretty cool. I mean, even the way he spells his name at the beginning, where they spell out Alexander Hamilton with letters, is like almost the exact same cadence that Biggie does in one of his songs, and like there's little things like that you're like, wait, where have I heard this before, and they kind of piece it together like a puzzle. So I thought that was a fun like second level to it, like almost the meta of Hamilton, if you will. But yeah, so like that's kind of what I thought was cool about it. But I'm glad you appreciated it, Angel, because it is one of those things that like, or sorry, go ahead.
No, so the only other thing I wanted to mention that I really liked about this, which is kind of what I like about musicals in general or any kind of stage performances, is I guess like how they work with the limitation of being on stage, always being seen by everybody. So I just love seeing like all the creative way that they, like just incorporate him going about town to suddenly being in an office with a table, being propped up by people, like all that practical stuff I just really enjoy seeing. And I thought it was like really awesome just to see them like create a flashback, like where they actually have the scene play out normally the first time, and then at some point there's a song, and then like as the choreography goes along, they set it up so that you end up right back at that moment. And it was literally like, oh wow, they did a flashback in a musical and it felt super seamless and really awesome. Like, is that kind of stuff that makes me appreciate these kinds of things, especially because they have to perform in front of people. It's not like a movie where you get a bunch of takes until it's perfect. Like, this is like incredibly like difficult, and I feel it sometimes doesn't get the appreciation it deserves from a lot of people. Like, I feel like sometimes, like, Hollywood actors feel like, or I mean, I feel like they're kind of put on this pedestal that they're like kind of all the way on the top, and then Broadway's kind of like a notch below. Mm-hmm. But I mean, obviously, like, not to take away any credit from, like, you know, Hollywood actors. I mean, it's obviously nothing easy either, but there is something to having to perform live every time. Like, you could almost argue that every performance is a little different, and which is also kind of why I like animation, because there's like everything has to be created from scratch, like literally everything. But
there is a hustle that live stage performers have to go through that is not appreciated in the same. Like, think about how many people are like, "Oh, the Oscars," and then how many people are like, "Oh, the Tonys." Like, there's definitely, like, they put
I didn't even know the Tonys were a thing.
Exactly. Well, that's what the T and E got. That's the T and E got. You watch 30 Rock. But yeah, they
see, and I'm saying I appreciate this stuff, and I didn't even
I know. That's my point. Is like we have. I think you're right. We have glorified movies so much that, like, we kind of disregard the fact that, like, there are people that, like, they're doing 2 shows a day. When Hamilton was at its peak, I think they had like a 7 p.m. and like a 10 p.m. or something.
That's exhausting.
Or maybe it was like a 2 p.m. at 7 p.m. I don't know. They do 2 a day at one point. A lot of musicals do 2 a day.
It's super exhausting. Like, they have to do like the whole show back to back, as opposed to, like, you know, they only shoot a few shots a day.
And then hit all those marks, be able to do that flashback. Like, one of the things I thought was really cool in Hamilton is where they do the rewind motion before they do the flashback, and they all start moving backwards, like on the spinning stage for a second. Like, they actually step backwards. Like, there's just like a lot of stuff that you're like, wow, this is a lot of choreography, a lot of like attention to detail that you have to make sure you always hit your mark with, while singing, while rapping, while having rap battles. Like,
it's the art of musicals, man.
I know, it's impressive, and it's something that I feel like not enough people give enough credit to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are just kind of brushed aside because they're musicals, because they're singing. Some of them brush them off because they have to go watch them at a play or at a stage somewhere, which sucks. I mean, I don't want to say like, oh, I hope we get more stuff like Hamilton where we get like a really nice big production video form of it, but because that also does kind of take away a little bit about watching it live. But I really do appreciate being able to see like all the nice facial expressions up close and you know, really read it, because I probably would not have gotten that if I watched it live, because I probably wouldn't have gotten super nice seats. Because I heard they're really expensive. Yeah.
Like I probably the corner.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's a cool stage, or the movement is cool, but like I couldn't see Hamilton's like those, like, you know, the subtle facial expressions, or with Burr or whatever.
Yeah, no, like when I saw the Pantages,
in front of
it was. So basically, they just went to a regular Broadway show of it and brought.
They wouldn't
cameras.
stop laughing, knowing.
Well, of course they wouldn't stop. The funny thing is, they filmed it at the peak of Hamilton frenzy on Broadway. So like the second a character would come out, that people are like, "Oh, it's this guy!" They'd all start cheering, even though if you're at home and you've never seen it, you're like, "What's the big deal?" Like, I think it was Thomas Jefferson or George Washington came out, and the crowd was just like, "Yeah, yeah," and like, you're like, "What? Why?" If you've never seen it.
People really like the King George. Or
no, he's.
Aren't you supposed to be quiet during musicals?
Yeah, except you're supposed to cheer at the end of songs and stuff. You know, clap.
Yeah, they do pause. Yeah. They do pause for applause.
Yeah, they do. And to be fair, they weren't like hooping and hollering over the dialogue when characters came out. But, you know, definitely like Jefferson's first appearance. Yeah, right. The thing I thought was fun. Here's how you know Hamilton's kind of like feeling itself a little. Did you notice in the subtitles, Angel, whenever they had clapping, it wasn't audience applause and it wasn't audience cheers. It was audience cheers, comma, applauds. They couldn't just have one. Then you'd be like, the crowd loves it so much, and we need you to know that we're putting both verbs in the subtitles.
I think that's more of an accessibility thing.
I mean, there were also a few that said, like,
but cheering and applauding are synonyms, is my point.
I mean, you can cheer without applauding.
I guess, and I'm just teasing about it. I just thought it was funny that they kept being like cheer. Like, there was never one where it's just applause, and there's never one where it's just cheers. It's always applause and cheers, or cheers and applause.
The only thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and it kind of has nothing to do with Hamilton, is like, I mean, Disney obviously got the rights to have Hamilton on Disney Plus, but they didn't have anything to do with its production or the making of, right?
Correct. So they pro-shot this however long ago, and then they were shopping it around, and Disney bought it for some outlandish amount of money and was going to put it in theaters next year. But then when they needed content for Disney Plus, they decided to be a little agile, and they bumped it up and made it a Disney Plus exclusive this year.
Yeah, because I mean...
Yeah, but it was already done.
Didn't they also take away the...
yes,
the 1 week trial right before it? So
Wait,
that
and they took out the F-bombs. There are 3 F-bombs in Hamilton, or maybe 2.
Oh, come on.
But because Disney Plus doesn't do above PG-13.
No, yeah.
But is that why it went quiet in those.
So there's one where they just say.
Well, there were three. Every time
there's
they were
one where
reading a
they
letter.
do. Yeah, and there's one where they do like a reverse, like like in censored music, how they just switch the word backwards, so it's like or whatever for like whatever the word is. They did that one time, and there's one where they actually just bleeped it.
Huh.
But
do you actually hear a bleep?
I think there was a bleep.
I don't remember.
Or maybe there was no.
Muted at that point.
There might not be a bleep. It might be a mute. I'm trying to remember. I just remember seeing.
I think most of these I'm pretty sure they're mutes because I don't think I ever heard a beep.
But there is one where they reverse it, and I think on some level, honestly, like because Lin-Manuel Miranda was saying on Twitter that like he's willing to give some Fs to let them take it away. Like that was kind of his joke, but like because it's about the accessibility of the audience it can now reach, and probably all the sales that come with that. I'm sure like the Hamilton mixtape they did a few years ago is back up on the charts, I would have to imagine. Which, by the way, that's kind of cool. Like if you do like the music at all, Angel, the Roots, like the band The Roots, you probably know them from Dream Fallon, but the Roots did with Lin-Manuel Miranda and Sia and Busta Rhymes and all these other people, they did basically remixes of all the music from the show, but they made them like their own individual songs. But they're using like the backbone of the musical's music. So like I'm sure that's coming back up the charts because of this. But anyway, the point I was getting at is, I think for the accessibility, they just said it's fine, get rid of them. But I suspect that when they did that, he purposely had them be censored in different ways to kind of as a nod to how rap gets censored on the radio. Because like some songs they just cut it out, some songs they replace the word, some songs they just do that weird backwards thing, and he did one of each of those. So that was definitely felt intentional to me. And another one of those like kind of low key, like, oh yeah, he's like really pulling from a lot of different like things in the hip hop world, like even how songs are censored now. So I thought that was kind of cool in a very minor way.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess like my point of bringing up the fact that Disney bought it or what they did, it's like the same thing that Netflix does, where it felt kind of weird, like having known that, or at least assuming that. It was weird kind of seeing the Disney logo appear right before Hamilton because it almost kind of felt like, oh, is this a Disney production or Disney made it? It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Well,
I think
it's
like they're taking credit for it. It's like whenever I see Netflix original, I think that one kind of stings a little more when I know like, oh no, they just licensed it. It's like, oh, Netflix original. Which one was it? Like I don't know, like Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's like you didn't make that, but
I think. I think on some level, though, that's just how the industry's always been. It's just becoming more apparent because so much more is being bought and put out.
No, you're you're right. I'm sure that's
because Palm Springs said a Hulu original, but I was just talking about how like they did it without having a studio.
And we know like freaking Close Enough, like we know what's going to be on TBS. It was made somewhere else.
Yeah, like it's more. They're just a distributor, so they get to slap their name on it and make it part of their brand, essentially.
Yeah.
Which Hamilton, there's a leaked phone call with the CEO of Disney, and he was talking about how important Hamilton is to Disney now, and how like it's like not quite the saving grace of Disney Plus, but like it's bringing in such a different demographic now to Disney Plus because they got rid of the free trial. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the next month or two we start seeing them trickle out more of the 20th Century Fox content into Disney Plus to kind of address this newer, different crowd than the Marvel, Star Wars animation fanboys and girls. So yeah, and it's kind of one of those things that like that's just what the brand is now. Like the brand is as much. It's kind of like Nintendo publishing games on behalf of other companies versus Nintendo developing their own games. They all say Nintendo at the beginning and on the box. Yeah. But yeah, Hamilton, it's worth checking out.
Is it though?
I liked it.
I'm kidding.
Let's dive back in. No, I'm kidding.
All right. Well, Angel, may your survival be long.
And your death be swift.
Last of Us 2. Here's where... before we get into this...
Spoilers.
Jason, would you actually ever be... let's start with no spoilers, and then we'll talk about spoilers after we give our just impressions.
You started saying my name.
Jason, has there ever been an interest for you to play these games?
I don't think I paid enough attention to them beyond knowing that what they are at surface level to want to.
Or how them. Critically acclaimed they are.
I know they're critically acclaimed. Yeah,
but like that's never been like, I should.
Not any more than it was when we last talked about this 2 weeks ago. So
not even
if you want to spoil it, feel free.
Not even like
I like knowing
I should
it's there.
ask Angel and we could like play it whenever I'm over, so I could like get through the story, like what we were gonna do with God of War.
Yeah, so like in 2024 when Corona's over, yeah, maybe. Well, you guys already spoiled it all in the text chain and the random kind of text chain, so it's fine. Go for it. No one even asked me at that point. You just started hitting up my phone with it, so go.
Oh, that's a good point. I guess in my mind it was like, this guy's never gonna play this game.
You're correct. So
I was almost gonna give. There was a moment where I was gonna give Jason credit, or like kind of be like, you know what, Jason, I get it. Before I watched Hamilton, I was very much like, I didn't plan on watching it. I knew it was critically acclaimed, but I'm like, I don't really care enough to watch it. I don't really want to bother. But I don't know. At some point, I just kind of feel like why don't I just watch it and maybe I'll actually like it, and I just did. You just take the plunge. Obviously, it's easier.
Yeah,
for
Last of Us 2
movie
is a $460 plunge.
Yeah,
for me.
I'm sure there's ways to make it cheaper. I mean, you would have to play part 1 first anyway, but I guess you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Spoiler it up.
This game does the beginning does a good job of like
previously on.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, previously. Yeah, it absolutely does that. But before we do the spoiler stuff, okay, just Angel, overall, what did you think? Spoiler free.
Overall, I really liked it. I mean, it felt pretty much like the first one. Like, if you like the first one, you'll like the second one. I felt like there was way more bang bang shooty combats than there were in the first one. I felt like the first one had more of a focus on stealth. I could be wrong, but then again,
really interesting. Because I mostly played this game stealth.
But then again, like, we also played it on vastly different difficulty, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that has something to do with it. So
what was your difficulty settings then?
First, I want to say there were one notch below regular, just because I just wanted to get through the story. Like, I honestly, like, I loved the story for the first one, and I really wanted to play the second one, but any kind of shooter, no matter what it is, like, I don't care too much for them. So like I can play through them, but like playing it on a harder difficulty, it's like I don't really care to invest the time to get good at it, or get better at it, or to master it, to, you know, like I guess the way like I'll play like God of War on a hard difficulty or play some platformers on a hard difficulty. Like I don't get that same kind of like thrill that I get from a shooter, just because I feel like I'm just naturally not that great at shooters. So it'll just be more frustrating than a good kind of like, oh man, this is tough. It's gonna be more like, oh, this is just annoying. Like I just want to get through at this point. So I think I put it one notch below normal, but then I also kind of tweaked with some of the accessibility settings. Like the beginning, it was pretty much just like one notch below normal, and it was fun. Like, I mean, there were some sections that felt tough that I was like, oh man, if this was on a harder difficulty, like, damn, this is gonna be like, this would have been really frustrating, or this is gonna take someone forever. But then towards the end, I was kind of messing around with the accessibility settings way more, just to kind of like have fun with them. And there was one that I saw that was like, oh, if you're prone, which means that you're laying all the way down on the ground, you'll pretty much be invisible to like everything. And I turned that on, and it was just hilarious. Like I don't know why, it just made it so fun, but like in a very guilty pleasure way. Like I did like this game enough that I do plan at some point. Like it's on my list of just like, it's pretty much I put it on my list of games to beat, but I'm gonna go back and play it on New Game Plus on a much harder difficulty. Maybe not like the highest, but I really did enjoy it enough that I now actually do. I am invested enough that I do want to get better at it to get the full experience. But
have you seen the GIFs of people just straight up John Wicking?
It looks
like John Wicking fools. It looks so cool. It looks like pre-rendered. It looks insane.
I like how that's a verb. John Wicking.
John Wicking fools?
Solid verb.
Oh man, yeah, but because of that, like the last third of the game, I think I pretty much played it with like that cheater mode, like the prone mode, just because it was so fun. But it was straight up cheating, but it was just so fun. Like it was so fun because the game has such a serious and dark tone. But here I am, just kind of like, there's like a section where you're like at a big camp and you're just kind of running through. I won't say anything beyond that. But you're running through, and you're supposed to like sneak past a bunch of people. But I was just like running through. They're like, there they are, shoot them. And then as soon as they start shooting, I just like go prone, and then they're like, oh, where did they go? And then they're literally like, they're walking like all over me. Like they literally bump into me, and they're like, whoa, but nothing. And then like I just crouch up and start running. They're like, there they are, shoot them, and I just go prone again. Or like it was almost fun, just like standing up, running at someone, going prone, and then just like going right behind them, and then just killing them. Just because it's like I disappeared. It was just, I don't know. It was a very video gamey and I guess lethargic. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it was a very fun way to play. It was a very tonally different way to play. It was kind of like a nice juxtaposition,
especially considering the subject matter of the game.
Yeah, it was pretty much like I was literally like, oh, like when you like usually finish these like sections, like they usually come out like, oh man, like that was a close one, but yeah. My character was just like, "Oh, that was easy." Like, like these guys are idiots. But honestly, it almost felt like because we know there is going to be an adaptation coming, it almost feels like the way I played it, especially in some cases where I just snuck by everything like without really struggling. That might be how they handle those in the TV show, because I don't know if they're going to spend like 2+ hours on just shootouts or literally just someone sneaking by. It might just be like a 10-minute thing, and then it's just like, oh, all right, they're on to the next plot point. But yeah, so it was very different, very fun. I barely had to craft anything. I think I upgraded my gun once, like my pistol one time.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, because and one thing I did regret turning on, like also like around that last third of the game, there were a lot of points in the game. Like I'm the kind of person that once I beat a game and I felt like I really enjoyed it, I want to go back and explore everything. But the first time around, I typically don't like to do side story stuff because I feel that this kind of detracts from the main story. Like it just gets me, I just want to know what happens next, and I don't want to spend like another couple hours just exploring around and getting some lore if it's not gonna progress the main character's story. So there were a lot of sections where, like, I know like Kevin mentioned in the last episode of Quarantine Chronicles, is that like, oh yeah, this area is big and it opens up really wide, but like as soon as I'm passing one of those sections, the characters are like, oh, there's a lot of stuff we could do here. Want to check it out? And I'm just like, nah, just keep going. And literally like probably like 2 or 3 hours of game, I just went by like in like 10 minutes. Like I think my total playtime was maybe around 10 hours or less.
Oh, Jesus.
I'll have to check later, but it was...
Kevin, what's your playtime by comparison?
My playtime, I think I easily put at least 15 hours, 15 to 20 hours.
I want to say mine was like around 10, like maybe 9 or... I wouldn't say 8, but it was around there.
I played... my difficulty setting was pretty much almost like 75% of the game. It was enemies are incredibly weak. I am incredibly strong as far as how many bullets that I can take, or like how much damage I could take. But the stealth was incredibly difficult. So it gave me like a nice mix. And then crafting items was plentiful. And it was like, it almost got a little too easy. So towards the back half of it, I made it so that crafting items were much less plentiful. And then I decreased my resistance. So it was almost like playing it completely on hard, but like I said, enemies were still pretty weak, where I could take them out in a couple of shots. And I think that was the right balance to finally go through, because now I wasn't just going through encounters like crazy. I was actually having to restart a couple of times towards the end, especially that last section, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Going into New Game Plus, I'm definitely going to be... Yeah, what happened?
No, I was like, oh yeah, that last section was just hilarious. If you would see my playthrough of it,
I can only imagine. Yeah, so going into New Game Plus, yeah, definitely a hard difficulty, especially with all my stuff. I loved upgrading my guns and stuff like that. I think what was great about this game is that compared to the first one, there's not a lot of new mechanics. The only two that I can think of is going prone and jumping, but their implementation, I feel like made the game feel leagues advanced. Oh, really? I thought it made it feel like more advanced.
No, I mean I really liked the prone mechanic. I thought that was cool, but I thought jumping didn't really add anything. I mean, there was like a few sections where I guess you had to platform, but it didn't really feel like it didn't feel like it changed anything that. I mean, the jumping animation just kind of felt like, even if I was just jumping in place or jumping not even that far, it felt like they were going full force on like the hardest jump of their life, even if it didn't really reflect on how much they actually jumped. But it felt like something that wouldn't have been missed if you just had automatically just like run to the edge and they just automatically jump. I felt like the jumping, like I wouldn't miss it if it was gone. Like I wouldn't even notice that they took it away, because I can't remember any time where I intentionally jumped to accomplish something that couldn't have been resolved by an automatic jumping system, like in Zelda.
I think that's probably because of some of the encounters where they add verticality to it, which was another thing that they added to this game. Just verticality. The first game was very much you are on the x-axis pretty much the entire time. They added a wide axis to this game. Especially there's a part towards the middle of the back half of the game, which will make more sense to you, Jason, once we start talking about plot stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think jumping definitely feels much better in combat scenarios when like you actually have to murk some fools with weapons and stuff like that.
No, yeah.
But since you played it more stealth,
Yeah,
I feel like you probably missed out on some of that.
No, yeah, I was gonna say, like, yeah, definitely. Since towards the end, like, I just straight up, like, completely skipped some encounters. Like, there were a few. I think the very last one, I don't even think I killed a single person. I think I just, like, it was pretty much just like a straight, like, sprint through that whole complex to where I had to go. And so I know, like, going back, like, that's why I feel like, at least those mechanics wise, I won't really get the full experience until I actually play it again in New Game Plus, where I actually have to utilize them. Because if I played it the way I did towards the end, jumping is kind of pointless. Because, like, why even bother if I could just, like, go through everything? Although I will say that I do regret turning on towards the end the I guess the path indicator, like, I guess the goal marker.
Oh, the arrow, yeah.
Yeah, the arrow, because I became way too dependent on it, like, the first half, or, like, before I used it. Like, the game isn't too hard to figure out where you have to go. You just kind of go. I mean, this is good game design in general. Like, the path kind of leads you where you have to go, and you could kind of tell when you're going the right or the wrong way. But at some point, I think when I just kind of felt like, when I was getting, like, really into the story and I just really wanted to just, like, see it through, I think at one point I just, like, all right, I just really want to make sure I'm not double, like, backtracking a lot. Because there were a few times where I went the wrong way, and once I realized that I had to go back the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, every time I hit, I think it was L3 or R3, so you click the analog stick, an arrow pops up and shows you where you're going. And pretty much once I started doing that, every time I would reach the arrow, I would immediately press it again, and then I would go to the next arrow and then press it again. So it pretty much became a follow the arrow game. And
okay.
So that's where I felt like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that towards the end, because at one point it felt more like a Universal Studios ride. So I'll be able to talk way more about the story, but the gameplay wise, it was more like I was like a passenger in, like, a Telltale's game, which is really fun. Which is, like, why, like I feel like if Jason were to play this game, I would totally recommend he would play it this way, because he would actually see the story. He would still get a taste of the combat, especially when you have to fight the bosses. Like, Jesus, some of those are kind of crazy. And
We'll get to that one.
Maybe I'll make him play, because it honestly didn't take that long. Maybe I'll make him play it one day, and because it wouldn't even take that long. We could even, if we bumped up the difficulty down even further than what I had it, he could probably beat it in like 2 or 3 sessions. Yeah,
for me, I feel like there was enough subtle changes to the gameplay that just made a huge world of difference. I guess because of the way that I ran my encounters.
That is awesome that this is even an option, or the fact that we can even both beat the game, but just be it 2 different games, I would say, at this point.
And we talked about in the last episode, the accessibility options and the difficulty settings that you can set up are some of the most clever implementations that I've ever seen in a video game. And the fact that even at, like, the highest difficulty, you can go through these encounters without essentially having to defeat or kill any of the enemies, I think is also, like, a testament to the game design. Because most of the encounters, it's like you're in this big open area and you just need to get through a door. And once you touch that door, that's it. It's not like the enemies can chase you past that door, because, like, the characters will just, like, block it with like a table or with, like, a fire axe, which is really funny.
No, yeah, there's usually, like,
and it's always funny.
No, yeah, there's usually, like, a ton of people behind me, because, I'm just, like, kind of sprinting through, and then it's like, oh, like, nothing happened after we get past that door. But, yeah.
And it's also funny, like there were segments where there's a bunch of enemies, and I would pick off 1 or 2 of them, and then the other enemies wouldn't ever find out about them, and I'd go through the door, and they'll do the little animation where, like, she'll block off access, but then there'd be times where I would just get rid of everybody in the area, and they would still do that animation. I'm like, why? There's nobody behind you. So as far as that, let's get into spoiler talks, because I think this is where we're going to be going into the actual story stuff. Are you good with that, or you got anything else to say?
No, just damn, it's like just closing comments on that. It's just like, just never played a game like this. I definitely felt bad at first, because usually I'm all like, oh, I gotta play games on the hardest difficulty, but I think breaking
But this is a very story-heavy game.
Yeah, like, I didn't feel, obviously story-wise I didn't miss out on anything, because it's the same no matter what. But yeah, I think it's interesting that this is even an option, and obviously not every developer has to do it. It's really appreciated, but if your vision is like, I don't know what's a good example of a game that is really hard but doesn't have a difficulty switch, but I mean, if they don't have it, I mean,
from Software's games.
Oh yeah, I guess, yeah. That's right, like the Demon Souls and Dark Souls, right? Like some people, I know, like they've been clamoring, like, oh, they should put a difficulty switch. It's not fair for those people, but I mean, yeah, maybe they should, but at the same time, if they developed it, if that's how they want it to be played, then it's kind of, I mean, it's no different than like a painting. It's like everyone interprets it their way, but it's just the way they painted it. He's not going to paint different versions of it. Like, oh, maybe they won't like this green dye or this green paint that I use. I'm going to paint the blue version so that it doesn't offend or it's more accessible to people that don't like green. I mean, it's appreciated when they do, but I'm in the camp where I feel like not everyone has to do it, I guess. But yeah.
Okay, yeah. Spoiler. My closing comments. I think it was great. I still don't know if I prefer it over the first one.
Interesting.
Yeah, I still go back and forth on it. But yeah, it's been a while since it's been 7 years since Last of Us Part 1 came out. I think that's the last time that I played it. The multiplayer,
I played the remaster, so it's definitely way more recent.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed the multiplayer. The Last of Us multiplayer was way better than it had any right to be. There were some rumblings from Naughty Dog themselves saying that they were working on some multiplayer stuff with this game, so I hope that eventually does come out.
Isn't it like an expansion or something?
Excuse me?
Is it going to be like an expansion or something? Isn't that what the plan is?
They still haven't said.
Okay. I guess it's just rumors.
So for all cool. We know, it could be just like a standalone thing.
Right. I mean, the first game got DLC. Second game.
There's no way this isn't getting
that was more of an expansion.
No way this isn't getting DLC. It's the number one fastest selling PlayStation exclusive ever. It's getting DLC. It's gonna get that.
We'll talk about that, especially where because of the story goes. Okay, so for anybody who doesn't want to get spoiled on the game, going forward,
it's been nice having you on the show. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's been nice having you on the show. Follow us at that you got to hear at the end.
Yeah, you got to stick it out for the plugs.
Oh, timestamps for everybody. I always forget to talk about the timestamps.
Well, you're way past that point now, so it's okay.
Yeah, so but
they exist. If you made it this far and you're wondering what topics are there left to hear, we have timestamps available.
Yeah, we'll put a timestamp for closing. That way you know that we're not talking about
closing.
Or just say story spoilers.
Talking about spoilers. So okay,
go.
Joel dies within the first hour of the game.
Yeah, the main character. I guess he is the main character.
Mr. Scruffy Face, right? Him. Scruffy Face.
Yeah, you play as him through what's like 75%, more like 80% of the first game.
Yeah.
And he dies within the first hour, and that is the biggest point of contention with this game, I feel like. Yeah, it divided the fan base, pretty much. Like, the fact that your game is dividing the fan base in 1 hour is pretty insane to me.
It's bold. It's very bold of them.
Yeah, especially because Joel,
what did you think?
I mean, he was a likable character, and, like, I didn't feel like, oh, man, they killed my Joel. It was more like, whoa, like, what? I mean, the thinking point was also that, at least at the time of when you're in the story, when he dies, it's just some random person that kind of kills him. You don't know what their deal is, why they killed Joel. It's just some woman that apparently just really hates Joel, and you don't know why. And I mean, as soon as she kills him, pretty brutally, I might add, I was like, man, like, what did Joel do? I mean, he must have done something bad. I mean, and I was talking to Kevin about this because he was like, oh, have you gotten to that moment yet? And I'm like, no. And then obviously you would know what moment it is when you get there. And then I jokingly told him, like, man, like, she has to be like, was she like one of the kids of the doctors I torched at the end of the first one? Because if you don't know how the first one ended, like, Ellie is immune to the virus that turned everyone into plant people. I'm going to call them plant
Ellie,
people.
the main character of this game, and the other main character of the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And so since she's immune, they wanted to take her to Seattle or somewhere?
No, it was Salt Lake City, I think. No, Salt Lake. I think it was Salt Lake City.
Yeah, they wanted to take her to Salt Lake City to a facility where they had doctors where they were going to create a cure because, she's immune, so they should be able to create a cure. You travel across the country with her, and you get there, and it turns out that in order to make a cure, she's going to die. Like, she won't survive the procedure. And Joel, hearing this, you pretty much
hold on. And this is another big point of contention. It's never explicitly said that there will even be a cure.
Oh, that's right.
It's like there's a possibility of a cure. Yeah. But for that chance to happen, Ellie has to die.
Yeah, so regardless, like, Joel didn't want that. He decided, I mean, he grew a bond with her. He pretty much saw her as a daughter. He had already lost his original daughter, so, you know, he put his love first, and he went and kind of went on a murder spree, went through a bunch of soldiers, went to the operating room. You get these doctors in there that kind of put their hands up. They're like, "Oh, don't hurt us!" And I think I had a flamethrower at the time, and I just like
there's specifically one doctor who goes like, "What are you doing? What are you doing in here? You shouldn't be in here." And like he grabs a scalpel. And if you don't do anything, he kills you. So you are essentially forced to kill this one doctor. You don't have to kill the other two doctors. You can, but you don't have to. But there's specifically the first guy that grabs a scalpel. You have to kill him.
And so you kill him, and then, you know, you leave with Ellie, and then the game ends with her telling him, like, "Oh, what happened?" And he's like, "Oh, they had other people there that were also immune. They didn't need you." So, you know, pretty much that lie that, you know, just so she wouldn't have to know that, he pretty much kind of took up the point away of the whole journey. And so, yeah. So I didn't realize that the joke I had mentioned ended up being accurate, because it turns out that doctor with the scalpel was the father of the woman that killed Joel. And I mean,
and you don't know this until what, halfway through the game?
Yeah, like a little over halfway for sure. And I mean, I thought that was a pretty reasonable reason to want to kill Joel. I mean, you were just the daughter of this doctor who was already having like difficulty with deciding whether he wanted to go through with it or not. And then he just dies because this guy just killed him for trying to find a cure. Like, she loses her dad because of, I guess, arguably like a selfish reason to, you know, save this girl that could have saved millions, potentially.
Debatably, I would say objectively it's a selfish reason.
Oh, no, I mean, yeah. No, yeah, it definitely is a selfish reason, yeah. But I guess I guess some people could probably argue, like, well, I mean, he really loved her, he had to do it, but
at the cost of possibly a cure.
Yeah, it was not the right thing to do. I mean,
so that's one thing we could talk about Joel's death. Yeah, that's one thing that we could talk about Joel's death, of like, did he deserve it? I'm in the yes, he absolutely did deserve it. As much as a great character Joel is, and like the shades of gray in him. Yeah, I think it's like, if I was one of the guys in Jacksonville, like their home base, like a huge town, if I heard that, I'd be like, oh, fair. I mean, I guess he kind of did deserve it.
He literally killed a bunch of innocent people that were just trying to do the right thing, but he wanted to have his girl back. And because we were playing as him, like, we're supposed to sympathize with him, and it's kind of hard not to, but at the same time, that's really messed up what he did. It's almost like, you know, it's like Breaking Bad or even like God of War. It's like, they're getting revenge for something that, you know, someone really did them really wrong, but they're also hurting a bunch of other people in the process that they do kind of deserve what's coming to them.
Yeah, and a lot of the discussion around Joel's death was like, oh, you did a disservice to the character. And I just keep thinking, did you guys play the original game? like Joel isn't a good guy. He like doomed the world essentially by not giving an opportunity for a cure to be created.
And
then it's like people thought, like, people knew that this game was going to be very Ellie focused. And then there was that trailer that they showed, I don't remember when, that shows Joel clearly being alive during a different point of the game. Did you ever see that trailer?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you didn't think I was going to help you? It's like,
towards the end, kind of teasing, like, replaced by another character.
Wait, so is that a fake out just to make the...
Yeah, it was a fake out. It's a completely different character.
Wow, that's crazy that they actually went through that effort. Although, I guess these are the guys that also make memes out of these characters, like recreate GIFs with these character models. So
that Antonio Banderas GIF.
They did a bunch of them for the sequel too. So I'm guessing it's not that crazy. They swapped.
Is that like a Sony thing? Because I know Santa Monica Studio also did that with.
with Kratos and Ron Swanson. Throwing away
I think Last of Us started it, and then Santa Monica hopped on the bandwagon, and now it's kind of becoming a growing like first party gag. But it definitely started with Last of Us.
Horizon ones. But Joel, wasn't really a great person, and then Ellie, just blinded by revenge because violence begets violence, and she arguably like does some even worse. Well, yeah, she does some really bad stuff on her own journey to get revenge,
does.
and it's horrible. Like she's pretty much just like the bad guy in this, and I think the only thing I would hold against Abby, which is the name of the daughter, is the fact that they, unless I missed it somewhere, but this is like one of those things where if they had just talked, I feel like a lot of the game wouldn't have happened, and maybe that's why they didn't. But like the first time, like right when Abby kills Joel and Ellie is there, she could have just said like, she's like, why? And then she doesn't say anything.
He killed my dad, kind of thing.
Yeah, like if she had said like he killed my dad, it's like, oh, and then like when? It's like, oh, they got the hospital.
I haven't even like ever thought about that,
because I feel like that's like that's a pretty big deal. I feel like even Ellie, who was already mad at Joel for like taking her away, I don't even think she knew that he went on a murder spree. And she'd be like, wait, he killed your dad to save me? It's like, oh, I am so sorry. Like, I have no reason to even like go after you.
Yeah, true. She never exactly knew that,
and they had plenty of opportunity.
But she did know that.
Yeah, okay. The only thing she ever said was like, I know what he did. I know that he that he stopped me. She thought that they were just mad at the fact that he pretty much stopped a cure from happening, but that obviously wasn't it. And I mean, that's why everyone else was mad at Joel, but that wasn't Abby's main beef. But they never say it. And then there were so many parts where I'm like, just talk it out. And especially after all the deaths that kept coming that were very much like not deserved on Abby's gang part, it was like, oh god, yeah, Ellie.
What's her name? Mel is probably the hardest one. Yeah, Ellie just straight up kills a pregnant woman that and like what? She didn't know that she was pregnant. Yeah.
Wow.
Friends of Abby's.
Yeah, and she does it's just guard for it, but like, so you think like, yeah, just talk it up. But I mean, they're obviously both beyond talking. I mean, I don't know. It's obviously easier to say that on our side, but yeah.
Ellie is definitely beyond talking, because does Abby's group of friends know that Joel was the guy who killed Abby's dad?
It doesn't seem like it, because they all, every time like before she killed the few of them, they would always say something like, you know what Joel did, like he like screwed us all, instead of like, yeah, he killed Abby's dad. Like it was always like the bigger picture kind of thing. So I don't even think they knew, which is, I mean, it does seem like Abby is kind of a closed off person that doesn't like to talk about her feelings except to Owen. But
yeah,
some love interest that is also killed by Ellie. But yeah.
To your point of like talking it out, I think Ellie probably, even if Abby had told Ellie, that's the guy who murdered my dad, who was also going to possibly create a cure by you dying, I think Ellie still probably would have been on that revenge train, only because Joel is killed the day after she finally decides to possibly forgive Joel for what he did.
Oh yeah.
Which was also the main reason why at the end of the game Ellie doesn't kill Abby. I feel like, because it's like, if I was ready to forgive Joel, I guess I should also be able to forgive you for killing him.
No, yeah, which is why like I did like the ending. Like that's why I wasn't like so like. Well, I do feel like the whole time I'm screaming at the screen like, come on, just talk it out. I mean, the fact she didn't kill her at the end when she had the chance, it's like, you know what, she broke the cycle. Like she did end up saving her, all things considering. Because Abby was also trapped in Santa Barbara, but yeah, it had a good resolution. That I guess like Ellie didn't have to die, Abby didn't have to die. A lot of people did. Right. It still really sucked overall, but it also saves the life of Lev, like a little boy that is rescued by Abby. That also like kind of helps you grow to like the character Abby, or just sympathize with her, because she is a brand new character and they had to develop her. Which they spent half the game doing, which I didn't really expect. I expected to be playing the whole game as Ellie. Didn't really think.
I feel like they kind of see that, because so the first character that you play in this game is Joel, and like I always forget about that.
Oh yeah.
So I guess it gives you like this feeling of like, oh sweet, I'm gonna be playing as Joel through some of the game, and it's literally just that intro that you play as Joel. But then after that, I don't think you play as Ellie. I think you play as Abby, like, right after that.
Yeah, you do.
Or am I wrong? You play as Abby right after that, right?
No,
so
I think you play as Ellie really quickly and then as Abby, but it's like... I'm pretty sure it's Ellie first and then Abby. But it's like really early.
Yeah, so I was always under the impression that, like, all right, cool, I'm going to be playing as these three characters. Because, like, why would they let you play as Abby at the beginning if they're not going to make you play as her later on, I feel like?
Yeah. It's like too much of a resource investment.
It was still a neat twist in the middle of the game because it's effectively, the game is split into two parts. It's Ellie's story and then Abby's story. I think my biggest problem with the game is how they structured it. I feel like, and I don't know if you guys know who... yeah. I don't know if you know who Cosmonaut Variety Hour is. Either of you? Do you guys know?
No.
He's like one of those MCU / like film analysis channels, but I think he's really funny, and he had like a really good point on this, Angel, and maybe you would have liked this too. Of let's say we play as Abby and like we meet her friends, and then we play as Ellie, like essentially hunting her friends down and killing them. You get me? Because like when we're introduced to Nora, we have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe now that I think about it, maybe that's what Naughty Dog was going for. It's like you don't have to know who these people are exactly. You just know that they're associated with Abby.
Yeah, because at the time, like, I thought they did it this way to have us be more on Ellie's side first and be like, oh man, let's kill these people. Because we don't know their whole deal. We just know they did this and, you know, we're supposed to go along with her revenge. And then after, when we get to know them, I felt like that was more like, oh man, we did it bad. Yeah,
because like when you see Abby and her group of friends essentially watching Abby kill them, you, I guess, automatically assume like, oh, these are bad guys. Like, I thought Owen was going to be a scumbag right at the beginning of the game. And then turns out Owen is like one of the, I guess, good people in the game. Like, aside from the cheating.
The infidelity.
Yeah, the infidelity. But like Owen is a good dude. Mel, I think they made her too much of the nagging wife character. A little bit too much. But doesn't matter because she bites the bullet. Or she gets stabbed. Not she's not even shot. Owen is.
But Nora just seemed like a really friendly, good friend. Just like any other one.
Yeah, and then like that scene where you... And they do this a lot, and I guess they kind of did it with Last of Us 1, where it's like you don't have a choice between not killing Nora. There's that scene of like, it's just Ellie in frame and with square, and if you don't press square, you're just looking at Ellie for a couple of minutes. Like, you have to press square and kill Nora to advance the story.
Yeah, pretty brutal.
It's an interesting way of like... It's funny because the developers, Naughty Dog, are making you play their game their way, but then there are a lot of ways that you can play the game in your own way, like how you set your difficulty and how the way that I set mine, which is an interesting mix of things.
Kind of an inverse almost. Instead of the freedom of choice with the gameplay, it's freedom of choice with the... I guess it is the gameplay still, but...
Yeah.
Well, it's not a choose your own adventure, basically.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
a freedom of choice in how you play. It's a freedom of choice in
how you,
not what you do, but how you do it. Yeah, but even not really, because you only have to press the button. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very different than it sounds like than a log.
I mean, the story is a straight line, but you get to choose how hard you want to make that straight line.
It's like. Yeah, it's like the city. The game is a city, and you start from point A of a city, and you have to get to point B of a city. But it's all the different streets and avenues that you can take, I guess. Wait, no, that isn't.
No. It's more like, it sounds like what you guys are describing is there is a flag at the top of a mountain, and you can either take a little cable car or you can hike up yourself. Both of them are going to get you to the top of the mountain. You're still going to see the same sights. It's just how do you go about getting there.
There we go. That's perfect. That's why we keep you around, Jason.
Yeah. I know nothing about the game, but I still half an hour in have an analogy for you.
So, let me see. Who did you like playing more as? Abby or Ellie? I guess
I don't know. I mean, it's not... I mean, they obviously control the same, but I feel I enjoyed the gameplay beats of Abby's story more. Yeah, like the island and going like through the top of the cities on the skyscrapers and like...
Yeah, that skyscraper scene was crazy.
Especially when they're like, "Oh, this isn't even the high part." It's like, whoa.
Yeah, this isn't even the hard part either. Yeah, and I was like, that scene where Abby just straight up slips and falls, and Lev goes with her. I was like, how are they going to get out of this? And sure enough, they were just above like a pool in that hotel.
And Abby is the one that also gets like the big boss fight with the plant. I mean, honestly, that's like
the Rat King.
There was more human versus human combat than there was, I felt like, human versus plant combat compared to the first one. It kind of felt like the plant people were kind of just there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like, I mean, see the infected in the game
is that big Rat King
as soon as you get to Santa Barbara, like literally just at the beginning of Santa Barbara, and then you face off with the third. Is that the third faction? Yeah, the third faction of the game.
How much of Santa Barbara do they actually show? Like, because Angel and I are, of course,
Not
from UC Santa Barbara.
I mean, it feels like I couldn't pin down what street it was. I mean, I don't know if these are based off of like actual streets, but they do show a train station that looked very much like the train station. Not the main Amtrak, but the other one, the other Amtrak one, the smaller one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the one that's like off
the one
to
closer
downtown.
The one closer, yeah.
It felt like they combined that part with the center of downtown SB. So like when you kind of like walk down the street, it's like, whoa, this actually looks like it's like really taking me back. Or even some of the
That's so cool.
Right when you get to Santa Barbara, you start on the beach and you have to make your way up to the street, and it's just like those like beach stairs that you go through, except it's like post-apocalyptic, so it's kind of messed up.
That's
but
so
like the
cool,
street,
though, to have
the street,
something.
The street signs are there. Like there's Del Mar, and I forgot what the other one was. But like, they look like the font and everything's identical, and as you're going down the street, like the houses are pretty much exactly how they were in Santa Barbara, like all different shapes and sizes. There's a house that has painting all in the front of it, just like you did in like DP. It was a nice representation of a like I said, post-apocalyptic SP.
That's really cool.
It's
really cool when games like
Santa Barbara.
Yeah,
but I mean, UCSB, but yeah,
right.
Is UCSB located on the beach?
It's on a cliff overlooking the beach, basically.
Oh, okay. They could have integrated that, especially with the last part. But
it could have been the base.
That was my favorite part, my favorite looking part of the game, or maybe it wasn't my favorite looking part, but it's like there's like 3 places where this game could have ended. Like right after
like
Ellie's
like an
and
ending,
Abby's fight. Yeah, like that part where Abby leaves Ellie alive. Like that could have been an ending. The farm after that area could have been an ending.
Felt like an epilogue.
Yeah, pretty much. But then nope, you go to Santa Barbara, and I think Santa Barbara I felt was like such a breath of fresh air. Considering like how gloomy and industrial Seattle is.
Yeah, a lot of forest and buildings. It's like it's either forest.
Yeah, and then Santa Barbara is like very sunny up until that
palm tree.
Until that last encounter at the complex that we were talking about. Abby definitely did have some stunning parts. The island,
especially when it was on fire.
What are they called?
That looked really cool.
Yeah, the Seraphites island.
Yeah.
But yeah, Abby had probably the more fun encounters, especially that boss battle. The only boss battle I feel like in the game, really.
The only actual like
with the Rat
like
King.
a boss battle. Yeah, that thing was tough. Even in the difficulty that I played it, I died like a couple of times because it was like faster than I expected to, and also because at that point I wasn't really collecting that much ammo because I didn't really need to. And so when I fought it, I was pretty much like I only have like 4 bullets and like some fire extinguisher. So luckily they do have enough ammo in that area to get it, but you kind of have to run around a lot to give yourself some distance, and the fact it splits off, like by the time it split off,
when it splits off, I was like, oh my god, are you kidding me?
I had to like fist fight that thing to finish it off because I did not have any more of anything. But
yeah, so they introduced I think like two different types of infected in this one. They introduced because in the original you had the people who were just starting to get infected. You had the clickers, and then you had the big guys. What do they call them?
Boomers.
The Boomers. I think it's the Boomers.
Are they really called Boomers? Like OK Boomer?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, they weren't called Boomers, but it was something similar because they're like big and they explode and whatnot.
Yeah, and then this one introduced the Runners, which are basically the like regular people who got infected who are slightly more clicker-like, and then you have the what are they called? Not the Screechers, the ones that actively hide from you.
I forgot their names.
The Lurkers. I totally forgot. And then they introduced the
Left 4 Dead
Shambler.
names. Shambler.
Yeah, and then. But I could have sworn that the Shambler was different from the big ones. The first game.
They kind of act
totally
the same. Yeah, but they're definitely different. Like these explode when you kill them, and the other ones just kind of rip pieces from themselves and throw them at you.
Yeah,
and explode.
And then the Rat King is the only like boss, and the Rat King looks super cool.
Isn't that the name of the Stranger Things baddie in season 3, Rat King?
I don't know.
Well, the
Dungeons and Dragons, Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, the Rat King is a normal term that's used for, like an amalgamation of rats, or just a bunch of things coming together to create something.
Gotcha.
So it's like it's a universal term.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rat King is terrifying, and it looks so cool. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a statue of the Rat King, and how expensive that's going to be.
Oh man!
But if it's under $500 or $500, I will buy it. The Rat King looks so cool. Especially because you can buy the models, or you can unlock the models of like almost every single character in this game.
I love that a lot of games do
like
that nowadays. At least on PS, at least on everything but the Switch. Like Resident Evil does that, where you can just like admire the animations and the models and spin them around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that Rat King one is super, super cool. What else do we have to touch on? I mean, overall, I think Abby was probably my favorite character in the game, which is super controversial.
By the end of it, I agree. Because like even like Ellie had a chance to not do the epilogue. I mean, it did end up saving Abby, which is great, but she pretty much like left her life with Dina that was already like essentially perfect at that point. But Abby definitely,
and then her suffering from PTSD from Joel's death, like towards the end. I think that's what probably pushed Ellie over the edge to go finish the mission that she had started whenever ago. Then, let me see. I totally forgot. To Jason's point of like, is there going to be DLC?
Yeah. Is there?
I would say yes, because of the way that they left Abby off of her going to Catalina Island. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the DLC.
That would be a cool place to see in a video game, Catalina.
Abby and Lev, which we haven't talked about Lev a lot about in this. I think Lev was a good character. The only issue that I have with Lev and what was his sister's name? Yara. The only issue that I have with that storyline is like I don't know why Abby decided to like help them out, like why she got so invested in them. Do you know why?
It kind of felt like it was just her just on like because they were kids, because they were just like little kids, and they're going out to fight the war, and because they saved her, she just felt guilty and responsible, like, I needed to see if they're okay. And at that point, everything was kind of going to hell anyway, and she had just wanted to make sure they made it out. It sounds like she just like bonded with them. Yeah, I mean, but I think it worked in her favor of just making her even more sympathetic, because she went out of her way to help these two kids that she literally didn't have to help.
So that's something that a lot of people, or like one half of the reactionary audience didn't like. Of like, do you think that Abby's section of the game was literally just to make her sympathetic? Because I don't think it was.
I don't think so. I think it helped like advance the story. I mean, it just like increases the lore. Like, I mean, you want to know, like, it just peels back the layers of what the organizations were up to, and not just Joel. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just helps you get a better grasp of the story. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say the object was to make it sympathetic, but I mean, it felt necessary. It probably would have had the same impact if we didn't have that and just more Ellie, because it just makes it more interesting. I mean, there's nothing worse than a story that, like, I mean, what if everything happened the way everyone thought? It's like, cool, like Joel didn't die, or he did, but to someone else. I don't know. I mean, that'd be boring. Like, give me something that I don't see coming. it doesn't always have to be satisfying. It's great if it is, but at least I don't have to be like, oh yeah, I saw that coming a mile away. I mean, even though I joked about it, I mean, I was still kind of surprised that it was the case, but yeah.
One of the and speaking to that point, the game does start off as a revenge story. I guess it's like Abby's revenge story literally ends within the first hour of the game, right?
Yeah,
you'd say that.
Yeah,
but Ellie's is pretty much throughout the entire time. But man, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, like people kept saying that like Abby's revenge seemed like justified, and like Abby's revenge was good, and like Abby's a good character, and like that was a really badly written story by the devs. But I'm like, at the end of the game, Abby is like, she's on the brink of death. All her friends are dead. Her revenge caused nothing but pain. How can you say that Abby's revenge was good when like Abby probably now has PTSD?
Yeah, it's literally like revenge causes revenge, death causes. I mean, if she didn't kill Joel, yeah, none of that would happen. But could you say she's better off for it? I mean, maybe mentally,
like absolutely
but
not. And that's something that I hate.
But it's never okay. Yeah.
And then the whole idea of like the devs just made a revenge is bad kind of game. I'm like, I don't think that's true at all. I don't think that's what this game was saying. That's another good point that Cosmonaut Variety Hour talked about. Like on its face, it does seem like a revenge story, but it's more about forgiveness. And I think that final scene really drives it home when Ellie is finally ready to forgive Joel.
Yeah.
And I think it's that last scene that puts everything together of like Ellie isn't trying to hunt Abby out of revenge just because of revenge. It's because she was ready to forgive.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people just miss that subject. And of course everybody has their right to interpret their story. That's how I interpret it, and
and
I don't know, it just seems
way,
insane to me.
Yeah, and this way felt like it had a bigger impact. I don't think it would have been as satisfying if she had killed Abby. I mean, if anything, at some point I was expecting like for her to kill Abby, and then Lev just like suddenly wakes up and just like shoots Ellie with an arrow, and then it's like, well, I guess like just kept it going.
Yeah, that would have been way more lame. I feel like.
Yeah, this way they both have kind of closure, but yeah.
Yeah, they both have kind of closure, and like we said, at the end of the game, Abby is talking to the Fireflies, which were one of the factions from the first game, who are holed up in Catalina. Do you think that was the Fireflies, or do you think that was the Rattlers?
I was thinking
like, slave traders.
Yeah, I was thinking that at some point, and maybe that was just like their way to, find people that are there, or that's just like a way to trap them.
But, yeah, and then you hear them on the radio, and then
Yeah, but I don't know. It's like I want to assume it was the Fireflies. It kind of feels like, I mean, especially since like the rumors were spreading all the way to Seattle, and that's where they first heard about Santa Barbara. But or that, because I feel like that gives the Rattlers a ton of credit at like how good they are at luring people to find the Fireflies. Although that is what people would be wanting to do in a world like that. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing they can explore in future DLC. I mean, that could be a twist.
So yeah,
but,
yeah. So I guess so. The ending, I think the ending was a little too on the nose, because throughout the entire game, as Ellie, you can pick up guitars and start playing them. And then at the end, the final battle between her and Abby. That's another point that I don't like, how gamey it was that Ellie had to force Abby to fight her just for like this final confrontation.
Yeah, that was kind of. Yeah.
That was like, okay, I'm sure they could have found better ways of having that final fight happen. It is what it is. But in that final fight between her and Abby bites off 2 of Ellie's fingers.
Oh yeah,
and then
she can't play the guitar.
Yeah, and now she can't play the guitar, and I was like, oh, all right, whatever. But Ellie leaves her her countryside house, her empty countryside house, because her wife decided to pack up and leave because of Ellie's desperate need for revenge, which makes sense. But if they're the ending just has like Ellie just going off into the forest. Do you think that there's going to be a part 3 that picks up after this?
I don't know. At least not with Ellie. I feel, or at the very least, I feel like they should just kind of not touch Ellie's story anymore. I think they left it at a good point. Well, just they left it. They left it at a point where I feel it shouldn't be touched anymore. I don't think there's anything more
like her story should be done completely.
Yeah, beyond that, it's just going to be completely different, like struggles and encounters that don't have anything to do with this aspect that I feel she completely grew into and has, experienced and learned a lot from. I don't think they should really mess with that at this point.
Because a lot of the talk of this game was like, did Last of Us need a sequel? And I feel like you could say no, it didn't need a sequel, but there was enough questions around the ending of that game, especially with how vague Ellie's reaction to Joel saying like, "No, I'm telling you the truth" was. Which, like, yeah, you can explore an entire. That's originally what I thought this game was going to be. Of like, I thought we were going to, as adult Ellie, find out the truth. And there's that flashback that shows that she went out of her way to Salt Lake City to find out the truth herself, and like told them flashback.
But it ended up just being about the consequences of the first game, which is also cool. But
yeah. I guess, yeah, if there was a part 3, I wouldn't want to see Ellie's story be done. I actually wouldn't want to see Abby's story either, honestly. As much as I like Abby, I don't know where else they could go with her story, assuming that the Fireflies are in Catalina Island.
I mean, it could be interesting just to follow a completely new character in that world. I mean, there must be other
there's
other stories that could be told in a post-apocalyptic plant zombie land.
It is ambiguous to where like Ellie's going. For all we know, she's going to Jacksonville, which I think that's where Dina left to, back with Tommy and
Maria.
Tommy and Maria. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like now this is Ellie's story is completely done. Like I do not need any more of Ellie's story. Originally, when The Last of Us came out, and with that ending, I'd be like, oh, I mean, it would be cool to explore a story in which Ellie finds out the truth. Do I need it? No, but it'd be cool. Like here, I don't need to know the answer to whether she's going to Jacksonville, back to Dina, or wherever she's going. Yeah.
Yeah,
and then, like I said, Abby's story, I can be completely done with. I thought Abby was a great character. Lev is a great character. Some of the side characters do get shafted. Jesse.
Yeah, there were
Jesse just straight up gets killed.
Yeah, Jesse and even the other friend, or Abby's friend, the not Owen.
Abby's friend, the Mexican dude that spits on Joel. Oh, that section, the sniper section. Did you think it was going to be Tommy?
Yeah, because he's the only other character that we've been shown to use a sniper before that point. So I figured it had to be Tommy.
That didn't click with me.
Because we had the sniping tutorial.
Because that sniping tutorial, but you never actually snipe in the game after that.
Yeah, it was just... I think that was just there just to kind of like give us a hint. That's like, oh, there's a sniper there. And I'm like, oh, that's Tommy.
Yeah, that just didn't click with me until now. Holy crap. This game has so many layers.
Yeah, that's why I feel like a second playthrough is definitely justified, but we'll definitely give myself some time to breathe. I bet you feel like you just played the whole game, right, Jason?
I do. Well, if the game was an hour, but yes.
Yeah, so anything else you want to touch on?
No, pretty much covers everything. It's just great game. It's a good game.
Yeah.
Good
game. And you're absolutely allowed to not like it, but giving you a 0 out of 10, like just on a technical analysis, like this game doesn't deserve a 0 out of 10. I don't think that the story can be so bad to you that you can be like, this game is absolute trash, as good as it looks and plays and stuff like that. Which this game almost has like no loading screens.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so yes, all right. So, and spoilers for Last of Us 2. What a terrible game. No, just joking. And with that, that's going to wrap up this episode 5 of Quarantine Chronicles. Thank you all for listening. You can follow us on
really thank you for listening. This is the first time we've ever had a single topic be an hour long.
That was also this is also the single longest episode we've ever done of anything under Random Nintendo. So congratulations, boys!
Hey,
just to show you, we have more.
Bam.
There's more to us than just Nintendo.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So where was I? Okay. Yeah. Follow us on your audio streaming platform of choice. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, we just got on, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the most
correct.
recent one that we got on?
That is the most recent as of half a year ago now. But yep.
Follow us on Twitter. We are randomnintendo.com.
Nope.
Follow us on YouTube as well. We are...
Random.
No, that's where we're randomnintendo.com.
There you go.
Yeah. See, I want to naturally do this. Like, usually I have a script. I just want to... I want to challenge myself by not having a script of everything that we're on. On Twitter, we are Random Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Jason is JSR7. Angel, I always forget how to pronounce Weiro.
Yep, you got it.
There we go. Weiro. WEIRO_O.
Yep.
Yes. I am Kevin Gomi on Twitter. So the website is down. Currently, we are trying to get that fixed, as ASAP.
Yep.
That's where you will find blog posts on everything.
Ultimately.
Including this episode. Ultimately, yeah.
Yep.
And I don't think I'm forgetting anything.
Nope.
Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
Nope. All right. Jason, final word.
It's a couple words. I might have to get a PC, because while you're talking about Last of Us 2, Digital Devolver announced a marketing simulator where you walk through a fake convention promoting all their games. And I'm a sucker, and I'm now going to go buy a PC. So I'll talk to you guys on Windows in 2 weeks, I guess.